Welcome to Weekend Tournament Americas number 73, where last week we saw Rice qualify for the Mechabellum Launch Clash tournament. Nothing is at stake like that today. This is purely for honor. We have 108 participants in our top group, including some famous names. I'd kind of like to follow some of the folks we know are going to be in that tournament. Bellicose Drake versus Hoiberg is a possibility. Fedez versus Stoney could be good.
That does sound fun.
Want to do Fedez versus Stoney?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, welcome, Starbright viewers. Thank you for joining us. How are you? Hello, Incredon. We have just started Weekend Tournament Americas number 73. Well, speaking of which, we should get a prediction up for those folks that enjoy their Gamba.
Gotta love being able to gamble on the outcome and show your Mechabellum chops, being able to make predictions.
Welcome to round one of Weekend Tournament Americas number 73. Just like with the European, we're going to start with Stoney. Stoney versus Fedez. Stoney is going to be far side marksman specialist. Fedez near side blue, a typhoon specialist with stormcallers and fangs. And joining me in the booth today is Alpha Titan. How are you doing today, Titan?
I am doing great. It's been a good day, and I'm looking forward to seeing the last tournament of the weekend for Standard Mechabellum.
All right, Starbright with a request says, Amaroq, can you do me a solid? Please yell at the devs to either enable the disabling of the first-person perspective or at least escape to the buttons that get you out of it, preferably both. Yes. Escape should definitely get you back out of that, right? Fedez is going to be pretty deep. Stormcallers 10 meters behind the center line of the towers. And, or I guess right on the center line of the towers, so they're behind the center line. Stoney coming out aggro with Tarantula as a marksman specialist. He'll have marksman able to back that out to but of course this is the build we saw Yes Win Big win Europe with. Congrats to Yes Win Big. That was a really nice run, sir. Hope he's living on the high of it at the moment.
Yes. I'll be sleeping it off in his time zone.
Yes. Of course, Stormcallers are great against Tarantula, so even though we're giving up the tower, looks like Fedez should win this round with the Storms killing the Tarantula, as long as the... Oh, I was going to say, as long as the Arclight finishes off those couple of Crawlers. Instead, Crawlers get to eat Stormcallers. Drill Puppies having their best day. Starbright, have you seen the new art? There is literally a unit that looks like a dog. Or a pup.
Yep.
We are looking forward to it. Are they bringing the cat versus dog rivalry to Mechabellum?
It's the cat unit.
I don't know yet.
I see. Yes, Doxon, they teased 4 different concept art sketches, and one of them very much looks like a puppy kind of shape to it. My theory is that's going to be a new mid-range chef. But we'll have to see. Because they intentionally did spoilers without any information about them.
Mm-hmm. They did hand the art to those of us in the curator program, but the They didn't tell us any more information than they gave you guys about it.
Right. Range round 2 on the tarantulas.
So this is
So that forgoes one deploy.
Yeah, it forgoes the deploy, but it's one of the things that Yes Win Big had experimented with early in that running tarantula. And what we found was giving the tarantulas range helped them to level. And you want them to level before you give them the spider mines, so they're making level 2 spider mines. It's very nice, but I don't think it's worth taking on round 2.
Right. In this case, it also does help protect them from the storms a little bit, letting your chaff tank a little bit longer.
Right, that may be what Stony was thinking there. And as you can see, it's going to work out here. Doxson says, I hope that dog unit is OP, because it is now the only unit I would ever play. Exactly.
Orange Man came in super clutch for Stony, getting the instant tower snipe right before a volley of storms landed. Right. So that was a huge domino from that one timing. There's the heavy armor for the level 2 Tarantula, and immediate overload on the defensive storm. Interesting. You don't need the range, and that's some serious DPS. But it does mean that they are almost even in terms of range. There's only about 30 meters apart. So those tarantulas could potentially be really safe.
Right.
But they'll get absolutely smashed if they get shot. So it's very much kind of a soft counter who gets the alpha strike situation. Heavy armor on a Typhoon. Which of course is Feda's unit as his specialist. Lots of new unit specialists. And honestly, they are all really strong, giving you both exclusive access, bonus economy, and bonus tempo. So, in my opinion, the unit specialists are by far, like, in the best tier of specialists right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I really enjoy having them. And they're really powerful, for sure.
These tarantulas are taking names.
Mm-hmm. That is not the window we wanted. Please go away.
Ooh, Sabretooth for defense. Okay. Sony takes Phoenix for attack. I could see Phoenix actually for both sides. It's got to be between the Saber and the Phoenix, though, for Fedez. Farseer. I actually think that's a mistake here. Maybe. I guess you take it and you add EMP to it to try and turn off the text on the Tarantula. It's so cheap for EMP. And it can kill the birds. I'll be really curious to see how this plays out. Come on, Fedez. That 100 for the EMP is absolutely huge for shutting off the Tarantulas.
It's right there. It's on the bar. You can do this. He's not going to do it. He's going...
Not this turn.
Yep.
Just imagine almost every one of these tarantulas would be turned off right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing about that is the range would be turned off. So they would then be walking and not shooting, and they would be slow.
Right. So
because of the EMP.
Yeah, they're trying to close the range, but they're slowed. So, so this kind of build is what Yes Win Big was running originally, and then Spider Mines are the late add, or possibly not even the add at all. But as you can see, he adjusted it to the Spider-Mine version. Of course, Stony was organizing the Dev Pro tournament and saw the Spider-Mines run really, really well for Steel Sane right up until they ran into hackers, so he may be thinking of them as preemptively countered.
Range. The struggle with Farseer is that it's got decent damage, but nothing in its arsenal improves that. It's just raw levels. No tech on their bar actually makes them better at killing, per se, as it is a true dedicated support unit.
Right. The way to increase its damage is to take attack enhancement on tower twice. 400.
Right.
Basically paying the same kind of price you'd pay on a tech for something else, but you get the bonus while still running the 4 other techs on the bar.
And Quantum on the birds is just begging to get EMP'd, which is now more expensive, but at the range they're sitting at now, they could do really, really good work.
Right. That
EMP there.
by more expensive, you mean 300, the same as most techs the very first time you start.
Right.
So, and of course the orbital did a lot of work as well.
Yes, it did.
Created a whole lot of quantum death. And the Phoenix are gone. I spoke too soon. The Phoenix are gone. Nope. The Phoenix are gone. Nope. The Phoenix are The Phoenix are
Farming experience.
Gone.
Which is actually real, by the way. For every Phoenix that respawns and kills, you get kill credit for that unit.
So you
So
get full experience
Quantum
for
Birds.
it? Very nice.
Quantum Birds can backfire badly if you're fighting a unit that cares about its experience and levels.
Brutal.
Ooh. Fortress here and the Marksman here are both really good for Fedez on defense.
Yeah. He takes the Marksman. Please put the EMP on the Farseers now.
Yes. Pretty please. And there's the hacker.
There's the hackers for the mines. Preemptively, we're not even worried about the... we're taking them before the mines are out.
What I think is weird is that he's taking hacker with level 3 marksman. That runs a very, very big risk of just outright killing the thing you're trying to hack.
Right, but if the marksman locks onto something with the extended range that it has, and then the hacker is working on a mine, I think that works out for you.
Right.
But it's not going to work out this round while the marksman and hacker have about the same range.
Right. And the hackers are also very far forward, which means they will be very quick to be popped by the Phoenix. If the Phoenix can get in. I really think Stony probably needs range on those birds to keep them safe. A lot of missiles. And there are anti-missile devices on the defensive side to shoot down both of the offensive missiles. And will also do work against the Storms and the Farseer, so those anti-missiles are absolutely great.
I wonder if this is what Fedez was thinking in terms of why he didn't take the EMP on the Farseer, that it would get countered by AMD, but I think that's kind of outthinking yourself there.
Well, I mean, at that point, you're buying 5 units. The EMP is only countered if the unit isn't doing any damage.
Right.
So that's basically like saying, I know my unit's going to fail, so then buying 5 of them and attacking range doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think EMP is the way back. And I think Stony really wants range on the birds to help cement his position. Definitely too late for efficient tech. Advanced targeting, wow, expensive. These marksmen have no techs. The hacker has multi-hack. Interesting. That drops its range. I think that that's going to just mean that they suicide. These are not heavy hackers. They are very, very fragile. Fun fact, at the tower breakpoints, a Phoenix one-shot the hacker at level 1.
That is a much less fun fact for Fedez than it is for Stony.
Yes, it is.
And Fedez does not have any late arriving chaff to try and protect those either.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as the chaff is gone, the hackers are front line. The Phoenix get the job done.
He's relying on those multi-hacks to try and steal chaff, but their range is so short, they're just going to die.
Right, they were going to walk out in front of everything.
Yep. Even by the tarantulas getting locks.
Right. Yeah, the tarantulas actually outranged the hackers. Holy smokes.
Yeah, this was just not how to defend this. A convincing win for Stony.
Yep. Very nicely done, Stony. Clear difference in level or familiarity with this build in that particular match.
Yes.
Let us take a look at maybe Erdnox Shreks versus Dionys. Goff the Great is already through with a round 1 win. Goff is the player I have tipped for the biggest upset from the coming Mechabellum Launch Clash tournament, so I'd love to see him pull one off. He would have to do it round 1 against the number 1 seed. Because Goff
or he'd have to make
64th.
a Cinderella.
Yes, he'd have to make a Cinderella run through the losers bracket. But he is the number 64 seed. He faces Joda in round 1.
Relatively close match. We have a bit of a late evolution into Vulcan Marksman on Dionys's board. Got some fortresses defending what looks like Fang carry with some Mustangs, one super pack of Mustangs. You don't see the stats, but I'd be willing to wager that has probably been the top damage dealer on that side of the board. I'd really like to see Scorch on this Vulcan with as many units that have armor, because otherwise it's playing into the Mustang counters. It's also a relatively cheap tech, all things considered. And I'm not actually seeing any air other than Wasps on Erdnot's side. So the Marksmen with air spec are very much a bit of a wasted tech there, at least with the current board state.
Could have been
drill and replicate,
protecting against a drop or going into the... it looks like there might have been a Wraith at one point on Erdnot's.
Right, it was probably baited out.
Yeah, baited out by the Wraith, I would imagine.
And there's the damage tech on the Fangs.
So full carry Fang techs. Let's go.
These Fangs immediately on the line into replicate crawlers are going to hurt, though. Just with no time to fight, that is only going to build your opponent's army. Oil gets set on fire, but yeah, those Vulcans are not being able to push through the steel balls.
Yeah, this is exactly what Titan is talking about. I don't know if you guys can see just the size of this crawler pack that has come off of those on-the-line Fangs. This is why, if you are trying to run Fang carry, you don't put the Fangs on the line. They belong about 40 meters off the line, so that you don't get this done to you.
Now, all of those replicated crawlers do burn up, and a lot of that came from deleting all of the carry Fangs on the left with the oil.
Mm-hmm.
But he needs to solve his replicate problem, and Underground is not going to help.
Yeah,
because anywhere you replicate is going to just turn into enemy crawlers.
Yeah, Erdnot Shreks needed to take the orbital bombardment, not the crawlers there. Dionys is placing them.
The right-hand side is pretty. Yeah, that's just going to munch. This right-hand side is just turning into a massive crawler replicate fest. That's where you want your orbital to just kind of pound that. But you don't really have anything on Erdnot's side of the board that can kill fortresses other than the steel balls, and that means you have to protect them. And that's just going to be really hard to do here. I think the replicate crawlers are just going to carry this.
Yeah. Fang carry would eventually be able to chew down fortress, but probably not a level 3 without Ignite, and certainly not after they have been replicated and feasted upon.
Right.
The level 2 Wasps would have had a day, but there's obviously the Mustangs, so... Yeah, it's
More Elite Typhoon.
It's crawler, call in. So these towers are just doomed. Oh no, and he's fed them. He's fed them by putting his own crawlers defensively. That's not defensively into this board.
Nope, that's literally giving your opponent 2 call-ins worth of crawlers.
Right.
And blue Typhoons are not going to save you when there's ranged level 2 and level 3 forts either.
Right. He got lock on this tower, so eventually slows things down.
Ironically, he lost 2 towers, though, so his debuff will actually last longer than the one that he earned.
Oh, that hurts. And you are spot on about that. And yeah, that is just crushing. Dionys, well played. And that is about a 50 MMR upset. Well done.
Yeah, this to me just looks like another example of not recognizing that the unit you're trying to counter was being fed by your own carry units.
Right.
And it was a huge positioning failure.
Do you want to take that question from Mr. Zeke in chat?
Let's see. While I'm waiting for my next match, is taking damage share on the HOT? Am I just spacing on what that means? Mr. Z, gotcha. Damage share on the heal over time after getting hit on a fat sledge frontline, a good idea. So, damage sharing is a fantastic tech when it is great, but it is very dangerous depending on when you take it. It's kind of like, I think of it as something you want to take when the game is close to ending and you know for a fact that your opponent isn't ready for it, because a level 3, a level 2 series of sledges with link and heal, if the opponent doesn't have like true splash or beam damage, just they won't die. And then they are an unkillable tank for your board, and it can completely destroy their plans for how they're clearing chaff or clearing units. So for me, it's a tempo break play. But if you take it on round 3 and you let the opponent build scorpions or steel balls or something that can take advantage of their chain link vulnerability, then you really have to end the game quickly after you click that button. So, like most techs in this game, there's almost no tech that's straight up bad. In fact, all of them are actually amazing in very specific situations. And the healing on sledges, or any link for that matter, is really that way. Uniquely though, with steel balls, because they have suck, they can actually lock onto a super giant and kind of heal each other almost the way a multi-melter with suck can heal itself by rotating targets. Right. So that's actually a much more interesting tech on steel ball in my mind, for that reason. But again, it's all about situationally when and where, and the 2 banes of that are beams and scorpion.
Right. All right. We will step into the around the room, I think. Dillo beats Thrain, Blue Hair over Cypher Shot, Kanoda beats Max Damage, Dulmont and CrossFit win as expected. The upset here is Galaxy Ends loses to Kebab Sniffer. Galaxy's build so dependent on fire on the ground, and it really saw them struggle in earlier tournaments today, and out of contention for the title in the first round here. So that's a big upset. Nicely done to Kebab Sniffer for taking advantage of that against a very good player. Shade, T-Man, Avalios, and Sastifer get their wins. Goff the Great over Oxer. Soft Dream Boy beats Squish. Dionys we saw beat Erdnot Shreks. Godius Prime over Big O. Sparty beats Mortis. Genghis Wolves beats Teddy. Cheeseburglar is holding on 14 hit points. Hoiberg beat Bellicose Drake. We saw Stony beat Fedez. Pikoshi over Corrupt Empathy. What's a Woman gets the win against Slobodur Pol. Steel Sane beat 91 Verist. Subidai beats Mike Tyson. 38 degrees Celsius. That was our 2v2 opponent. Gets the win here. Not Red Hair. That is against Stupid Vegetables, who had a really good run in the Asia tournament. Onlyfangs beats Skynin. Dachshund over Idle Rants. And B-Man beats Bobby Fischer. Rest of the group: Moorbird, Position 6, Uncle Lazy, TNT, ENS, Savage Dad Gaming, Fizzgun, Avgil, Turzo, Beckamelum, Johnny McBanjo, Agaya, Never Knows Best, Greycloak, Nick, Emanova, the T-Dunk, Angel Entropy, Embarker, Some Guy, Pashio, Charlie Oscar, Upham, Auzane, Zygote Banana, and Tankalicious Stinkbottom. Get the W's. So we had 108 in this group. Obviously there are two groups here. We saw 3 128-person groups in Europe. Oh, it's amazing. But, yup, it was incredible. So, I do want to take a moment to show off the art that we had for those new units. So, if, let's take a look real quick. Well, it is sort of the end of the galaxy is what their name is currently. They have changed it a couple of times. Why are you not... Yeah, why are you not picking up the image here? Well, one moment then. We can do this the other way. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. So here you are. The transform fits to screen. Okay. Apparently we're just going to be very large. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So this is the puppy, top left for Ghosters and Dachshund and Starbright. And there you are. And that is your puppy. Oh. Right. This looks to me like a air hacker. You think it's an aerial giant? Well, that could be the Titan then. They have talked about an aerial Titan. Here are the other two. You've got clearly, I think this looks like it's fast air unit, and this one Go ahead. Yeah. Right. Oh, low and fast? Right. Pod Racer, yeah. I can see it. Alright, we have our round 2 matchups. Let's get ourselves into these. Sastifer against Becca Mellum. That could be fun. Becca Mellum won a weekend tournament Americas. I kind of feel like that might be the best matchup as well. Theoretically, the 27s, 28, 26, 29 would be the actual best in terms of MMR v MMR, but the... Well, there you go. Thank you very much for the sub, Ghosters. This is Cough Cough, subscribed with Prime. Which reminds me, my Prime sub is up. I have to find somebody to gift that one to. But I can't do that in the middle of streaming. Welcome to round 2 of Weekend Tournament America's number 73. We've got Sastifer, who is going to be taking part in the Launch Clash qualifiers tomorrow, facing former tournament champion Becca Mellum. Becca Mellum did not have the MMR to make the cut for that Launch Clash tournament, and was hoping to get through on a... I won 2 tournaments, was not able to pull that off. So, Sastifer, Nearside Blue, took the Fire Badger Specialist with Marksman and Mustang. Pack that you kind of hate round 1, especially if you draw it into Sledges and Arcs. It's going to be into Sledges and Marksman for Becca Mellum with Fortified Specialist. Yeah, are we watching the 1.0 meta? I'm confused. Where's the Stormcallers? Yeah, I very much agree with that, and also the, Fortified Specialist increases hit points by 17%. You can just buy that 15% off the tower, right? Like, yes, it can add to that, so you can get this plus this and have plus 32, but, when everything else is balanced around a 200 cost, essentially, 200 cost unit, 200 cost for quick deploy, 200 for a free giant unlock, having something that's balanced around a 100 feels a little bit low. Right. And it looks for all the world like Becca Mellum is floating the 100. Right, if nothing else, I mean, It costs the same as this shield. It gives you a 50,000 cost shield instead of a 40,000 cost shield. And you get it back. You get it back. Yeah. Ghosters has an interesting observation about the fortified. Says, I feel like fortified seems like it needs something to it. In my opinion, I would possibly do something like an upgrade specialist where it gives you a fortified and attack buff at 100 for each of them. But maybe that's too strong early. I would almost say, just click these two buttons. Just, that specialist becomes, you came in with these two enhancements. The level 1 version of them. Right, but at least it's better than the 100, right? Yeah, that would be 400 value. You could also do it as if each of them were 50 off. That would be 200 value. I see what you mean. Toast hat. Right. Right. We've got the unit drop for round 3, and that is a level 2 Scorpion on the right, and a level 1 Scorpion on the left for Sastifer, a level 2 Farseer for Beccamelon. So adding a solid set of range over here, also range to the Arclights. So has kind of made this mistake of having 3 units that are fighting from almost the exact same spot. So if the Scorpion ever gets a lock on to that location, it's going to be devastating. And here it comes. Boom! It does go... Oh, it does not go down before it gets its last shot off. My gosh. Right. Yeah, Sastifer looks to be in a very strong position right now. You called it. Well done. Or you sell the Fire Badger because you're going to replace it. Right. He's got the 350 left. That could be range for the marksman. It could also be range for Stangs. Beccamelon going to distract the level 2 Scorpion with the flank crawler.
And I actually think that's going to hurt them because then the Scorpion won't advance, and that's going to protect the Scorpion from marksman locks. I actually think that's going to backfire this round by giving the Scorpion a kind of artificial back deployment advantage almost. No marksman ranged. The Shastifer really took a downturn to take efficient giant manufacturing. It's time to make that pay off.
Right. Sastifer had so much tempo advantage, lost a bit of it that round, but now has the efficient giant manufacturing. We can unlock something and play it and turn it into essentially the winning play.
There's the Fire Badger cell.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes the Vulcan.
Sold out of these Badgers.
Ended up ranging the Mustangs. I don't like that at all, actually. I think that was a big mistake because the Mustangs were countered by the sledges, which was the front line.
But
especially with the heavy armor.
They're countered by a 95-meter sledge, so he's getting them out of range of the sledge by getting them up to 135. That's the thinking. Whether or not it's a mistake is...
Offensively, they're not contributing, though.
Right.
And you're going Fortress.
Fort as the answer to the sledges, keep them from scaling out of control, do some tankiness, and it's actually an answer to carry Arc as well.
Yeah, but you've got marksmen with levels. Range on them can easily answer the unranged marks and arcs on the other side.
Right.
And you already have a Scorpion over here, so it's a bit redundant, and they still both have no text. The real problem was that you were hung up on the late arriving chaff. I really think that he wanted to range his marks and go into a Mark Vulcan build here. But we'll see how the fort does. I worry that it's just going to shoot crawlers all day and die.
Yeah, we sold out of the... I mean, we both agreed that selling out of the Fire Badgers was the right choice if they were being replaced by chaff clear. You can see how long it's taken to clear chaff. And as Beccamelum, I'm thinking that the way to beat Scorpion is to feed a constant drip of chaff on it. And so I'm potentially
and it gets to bubble too.
Oh, ouch. I'm potentially just buying more and more and more crawlers and fangs behind this pack of units. You know, like
Fangs with range would be massive for Beccamelum here. Now here's your Vulcans, Chastifer. Not really getting the giant value. Range them.
Well, we're not giant specialists, but yeah, we're not getting the efficient manufacturing bonus.
Right.
Beccamelum reads that drop correctly, picks up the steel balls, which will be a good answer to the Vulcans.
I definitely want to see those balls get ranged then.
And again, they really require the chaff behind them.
So we commit to the Scorpion, which makes the Fortress unlock really painful, because those are kind of the same role here in your heavy target damage. A little bit of lack of unit diversity, because Fortresses are 350, Scorpions are 300. The Scorpions could be Fortresses, and then they would share tech identity and value on level ups. And these Mustangs that he placed last round got a total of 16 kills and barely 10,000 damage. You do have a solid chaff board. With the Vulcans, you are winning the chaff war now. No range on the steel balls, which means they will struggle. The Vulcans were definitely what was needed there.
Yeah, that completely changed the board for Sastifer. You kind of wonder how different this game would feel if he'd taken them the round that he took the fort.
And then they wouldn't have been able to be a drop, which you then potentially risk your opponent picking up, but that's a moot point. Oak is really strong here.
For both players, I mean, Sastifer has to shield that.
I think that's a greedy smoke. I think that's too far back. I think a smart bubble covers the center line. I think you're better off pushing it a little forward, accepting that it's maybe not going to be instantaneous, but you're much more likely to get value out of it.
So Sastivar does take 2 more forts and barriers, so it's up to breaking even on the efficient giant manufacturing. From next round on, it pays off, but by this point, Beccamelum has picked up a pair of melting points, given them range. Beccamelum does still need to shield that smoke, otherwise it's going to be very painful.
Yes.
Because Sastivar's bubbles are going to protect against the smoke here.
Also a very forward melting point on the left. I think that that's going to risk getting just overwhelmed by chaff. That is a missile here to try and clear the chaff
no
for that melting point. Oh no.
2 missiles, no shield.
That's going to break the melter lock.
Oh, Beccamelum. That hurts.
The missile did clear the chaff that allowed the melter on the left to get the locks on the giants.
Yeah.
That is a 1-turn placement trick.
Right.
And then it's going to be stuck on chaff for a while. I honestly think melting point was a mistake for Beccamelum. I think she had a level 4 marksman with elite and a level 2, and I think it was elite marksman and recruited them and then range and/or EMP with it. Could have been a better use of the funds.
Right.
Work with her existing board.
Right. And that melter is going to get deleted by the now level 3, could be level 4 Scorpion. So just
good level though.
Yeah, Sastivar wins the round, still has the smoke for next round, but at least Beccamelum can mobile beacon out of it. Sastivar, I would love to have seen take the oil and drop it onto the units that are right around the smoke, kind of stick them in the smoke or stick the mobile beacon if somebody's trying to mobile beacon around them. Beccamelum is going to play around that, but a lot of people won't shield for that.
I like the Wasp drop, actually. I think that it's going to be a good distraction, although I would have actually used it to try and be behind my own line in the one pocket without Mustangs, so that way it provides air chaff into that Mustang, that melting point that wrecked you last round. Another really greedy melting point trying to end the game with that positioning on the right outside of the smoke with an insta-lock.
Right. And I mean, you've talked with me about making this mistake, about allowing my forts to be insta-locked. You've got to have that chaff up in front to ensure...
Especially when you know your opponent has the melter lock.
Right, and this is almost the proper positioning. It needs to be just a little bit further inside the bubble to ensure that the last crawler hasn't left, because what you want is for the melter to lock onto a crawler. It doesn't even damage the crawler because it's working on the shield bubble. As soon as the crawler runs out, it loses its lock on the shield bubble and works on the crawler, right? And then hopefully you've got more crawlers arriving in time to ensure that you're not that the lock never gets made. Sastivar's wasps are just stuck on a crawler pack that was in that back corner.
I really like the EMP on the melters, and the level on the left side was really strong. Just imagine if that fort on the right side hadn't been insta-deleted.
I mean, there's still well more than 1,000 hit point damage on the board for Sastivar.
Yes.
But it's not enough to KO. Beccamelum will get a 9th round at 411 hit points. Sastivar is at 1860.
And that's the risk of the melting points being where they are, is they die very quickly as soon as there is a lock. Birds for both. Well, if you're not going to range your level 3 marksman, Sad day. Then yeah, take your birds. Absolutely.
I think you mean the level 4 and 2 level 3s.
Oh, there is. No, I'm looking over at Sastifer's side.
Oh, I see. 2 level 3s for Sastifer, a 3, 4, 3 combo for Beckamelum, and nobody has taken range on them.
Elite on them does help, but the no range hurts, because that elite range and EMP on your marksman is a real answer if you scale them.
Right.
Problem is scaling them, but when you have the levels, use them. People default to giants when their early units have levels, and I think this is an example where the EMP from the melters is really strong, and with this many forts, the melters are definitely earning their keep. At least, okay, so they're going to use a spread crawler to distract that melting point, and the EMP barrage to go with it.
And
what happens to crawlers that get EMP? Do they go back to being tight knit?
Yes, they stop applying the distancing from each other as part of their pathfinding.
Right. They don't come back together per se.
They don't necessarily regroup on purpose.
Right.
But they will naturally start to congregate again. The forts are now triple leveled with range, launcher overload, and barrier. And as long as they don't get EMP'd and have all of that turned off, they really should have the advantage over the melters, unless there's an insta-lock like there was right there. Here's what you're seeing with what Titan was talking about with the loose formation. They're just going to be distracted all day. The arc lights are shooting like 1 or 2 crawlers at a time. We've got crawlers all the way in on melters 1, 2, 3. You can still see crawlers on the ground if you're zoomed in tightly enough. There's finally cleared the crawlers on the left.
Every greedy deployment with a melting point that got an instant lock was immediately countered on the following round and was too far forward to be safe.
Right.
So that puts you in a losing the war to win a battle when you weren't even winning that round for that micro battle.
Right. And Beckamelum peaked at around 1560 in the first season, the Vanguard season. Seems to be struggling a little bit with this patch, and you can see some little mistakes, things that may work at the 1200 level, like these greedy melting point positions getting punished here, and then other little details like taking the not taking the range on the marksman, or not taking the range on the steel balls. And Sastifer is, we debated some of their choices, but they certainly got the job done.
Yes. I mean, once you get to a triple tech giant with good chaff placement and good chaff clear,
right,
then you're in a very strong spot, even if maybe you took a circuitous route to get there.
Right. All right, we had 54 unbeatens. There's still a couple of those matches ongoing, but we'll go around the room real quick. Dillo beat Tanklish's Stink Bottom. Blue Hair beat Auzane. Kanoda and Dolmont get the expected wins. Subidai is being taken right to the brink by T-Dunk. Shade,
oh wow, they are neck and neck.
They are. Shade, T-Man, Avalios, Sastifer all get the wins. Goff the Great goes to 2-0. Looking forward to seeing him in action tomorrow. Sparty is in trouble against Fuzzgun, or is this the I'm about to turn it around moment? I'd love to go take a look at that. Sparty just started streaming this week. Dionys beat ENS. Vibe is ahead of Uncle Lazy. 38 degrees Celsius beat Moorbird. Position 6, Genghis Wolves, Gotia's Prime, and Soft Dream Boy all getting wins. At the favorites end of the tournament, Hoiberg, Stony, Pico Kishi, What's a Woman, Steel Sane all get their wins. CrossFit, OnlyFangs, Dachshund, and B-Man all get the W's to get to 2-0. And so a lot of the favorites are through.
How is tournament seeding determined right now? Is it off of current season combat power?
It is no, it is off of MMR now.
Okay. I was curious how that was going to work.
Yeah, it is.
Because we no longer had our conglomerate pre-release.
Yeah, no, combat power is gone. It is now a season combat power, so that is what your progress along the season rewards is, and what league you have qualified for. But for tournament action, the seedings are completely by MMR. So,
I love that.
Yeah,
now, is it highest MMR for that season?
No, current MMR.
Okay, so it's current.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Welcome home, Decaf. 4 a.m. Car survived driving another late night, but slowly hanging around a bit longer. Okay, Fated to Fail points out that on Apuchi's stream, we noticed something interesting on those units that's kind of a hint. Let's see if we can pick that out with a quick look ourselves here. So, it says that you can pick up the squad sizes. Where are you seeing that? It says the dog is probably 8.
You see the formation? It's a 2x4 grid in the background.
Oh, I see it right down there in the corner. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And there's probably a singleton for the air giant, so you can't actually see the footprint.
They're calling it Medivac for 4. Looks like a 4-pack, like a sledge maybe.
Oh, this thing? The top right is a medevac?
That's what they called it, at least on Apuchi's stream. One...
It's like a pair of gunboats, it looks like. Yeah. I see 2.
2 gunboats, which might make this the air giant, the air titan. Oh, if that's the cockpit, right? This thing is huge. Like there's a cockpit window.
It does say support cruiser as part of its name in the background.
Mm-hmm. Sort of sounds
I don't know
like
if
a
it's
giant to me rather than a titan.
It certainly could be.
Oh, you called the bottom left the medevac. Bottom left is the medevac.
I'm calling
unit?
that the gunboat.
Yeah. And then this thing is... Well, it's not... It isn't 4. What is it? Maybe this is the titan. I mean, it says massive, right, in this corner.
It says of one large number.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's strengths. I feel like they're teasing that as the giant, and honestly,
Yes.
It looks like it has some kind of super laser attached to the bottom of it. So, like some kind of hive mind style massive air thing would be cool. And I mean, if you look at it, it's got turrets on it the way a war factory kind of does, almost.
Boom QC wants to know, is there an official communication for those units? They are so cool. This is it. They handed it to us. That is what you are seeing. That is the sum total of what we got to know. So,
on overlords. That sounds very healthy.
Right?
Super giants that can create giants that can create units.
Right. All right.
Vulcans.
Yes.
You can have 4 delineations of unit propagation.
Right. Everything gets added together. All right. If every overlord on your team gives you another deploy. No.
Wow. So Doxin is officially out of contention for the balance team.
Yes, right.
That would be hilarious, though. In a terrifying kind of way. All right.
Yeah, Mr. Zeke, so you did ask about how the tournament seeding works. So at the first round of a tournament, the top half of the group are paired against each other in much the same way that our 1-0s were paired against each other here. So like you were always facing the, 1 faced 54, 3 faced 52, right? Half of the total participants, 108. And then at the bottom half, you get adjacent. So just like the 0-1s faced each other, 55 versus 56, 57 versus 58, 59 versus 60. So what you wind up with is your first match, if you're in the bottom half of your division, your first match should be relatively even. You only wind up overmatched a bit if you win your first match, then you're into round 2. And you get especially overmatched if, almost brutally overmatched if you are one of the bottom 2 seeds, win that match, and wind up facing either the number 1 or number 2 seed. So it is it is pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie there.
Round.
But then if you lose that match, which you are expected to, round 3 you are back into matched against somebody relatively your level. For Asia, we had 2 groups. For Europe, we had 3 groups of 128, which was amazing. For this one, we've got 2 groups of about 108 apiece. So this should leave us with 27 unbeaten, assuming nobody has abandoned from the top group. Sastifer, unfortunately, after beating Becca Mellum, has abandoned. That does happen sometimes. Some players will do it to avoid the odd number, but eventually you're going to get, because 27, we were going to have a spoiler roll on, round 3. Well, he saved that for round 3, but, round 3 there's only 26, so there's 13 matches, but on round 4 there will be 13 winners, so it's going to be an odd number again. So really you can't avoid creating the spoiler rolls. You can postpone it a little bit, but you can't prevent it. Let's see, what else would Mr. Zeke need to know? If you haven't clicked the rules are pretty simple. 1 point for a win, no points for a lose. It is 1 point for a bye. Minor points are the sum total of the points of your opponents. So Dillo picks up, we can tell from Dillo having 2 minor points that Thrain won their second match, and of course Tankalicious had won their first match. So Thrain will have 1 point, Tankalicious will have 1 point. If you come down here, B-Man faced Bobby and Zygote Bananas. And we can tell that they had, Zygote Bananas won their first game. That's how they earned the right to face B-Man. But Bobby had lost their second game, so Bobby is 0-2 or 0-1 and abandoned, and B-Man therefore has 1 minor point. So B-Man, who had been the second overall seed, was behind Dillo but ahead of Onlyfangs, has been dropped down to 11th. Blue Hair, who was the number 3 seed between these two, has dropped down to 12th for the same reason. So that starts to create some really interesting matches where you get things like Dachshund against Kanoda, Blue Hair against Dolmont, and B-Man against Steelsane, which will be the match I want to watch.
Oof. I can't imagine why.
2 really good players. Good luck, have fun, Mr. Zeke. Don't forget to ready up. And did we run our ad, or do we need to run one now? I think we should run one more before this match starts.
Okay. So we don't get interrupted.
Yeah, so that match isn't interrupted. It buys us more of a break later. All right, our matches include Dillo against T-Dunk, CrossFit against Vibe, Goff versus Hoiberg, Dionys against Avalios, 38 degrees Celsius versus What's a Woman, Dachshund against Kanoda, Dolmont against Blue Hair, but we are going to be in a B-Man against Steelsane.
Very nice. On the topic of matchups, being like 61st, meaning at the bottom of the top half, can also be really tough round 1, because then you're facing up against the number 1 seed. But the longer you play into the rounds, the more even the matches become, and that's just inevitable when you have a sample size of 120 plus people.
Oh, right.
Oh. Remind me, what is B-Man's style? I think they're a standard player for the most part.
B-Man is, Steelsane is exceptionally standard player. Wants
Yes,
to play
of course.
defense and standard only. It was
Loves that.
kind of unique to see them go so heavily into Tarantulas for the Dev Pro tournament, but they've been back in fairly standard for other tournaments since then. B-Man is a bit more flexible, will do a lot of the kind of fake flanks or corner pulls.
Gotcha.
Part of
some surface area
standard,
increase.
Yeah, surface area increases or pulls and timing changes. So I think understands the game at that level really, really well.
Right.
But does tend to play a bit more standard. Will break out aggro for enough of the time that you can't just count on him being in standard every single time.
Right.
And
does himself a favor of not being utterly predictable.
Right. And is one of those that has played a lot more against 501 players than a lot of the other 201 players. So he brings some of that to the 201, some of that kind of aggro energy. B-Man is going to be near side blue and has gone for a Typhoon Specialist with Steel Ball. And look at this, coming out with my favorite start. A Steel Ball Typhoon up front with an arc light to clear the chaff, is definitely not using anything close to my positionings, which is...
Maybe take notes.
It depends on if it works. If it works against Steel
That's
Stain,
fair.
I'm definitely taking notes.
Right, well, I mean, even if it doesn't work, if it almost works or kind
Right.
of works against Steel Stain, that's probably something to, like, keep an eye on.
So here is a 7x7 gap for that War Factory, so it does feel kind of 501-ish rather than 201-ish, where I would have had the vertical crawler here. He's gone horizontal crawler, horizontal steel ball. That basically ensures that this steel ball is going to prioritize either the tower or things outside of the tower. It also means that they are much more vulnerable to getting pulled, which is why I tend to run mine closer to straight vertical onto the tower. Then I can do some pulls out here to create this opening. You can even see that opening starting to appear. And that little wedge that you saw here is something that B-Man is going to try to exploit. And of course, Steel Stain, the expert at defense, is going to defend. Now, Steel Stain has one round one by virtue of using the extra 50 for Supply Specialist to unlock. Flying, as we all know, flying is cheating, and therefore
Budget air spec.
Steel Stain is going to win round one by virtue of flying.
Yes, and with Phoenixes no longer being a possible starting unit, them being on round one by the rare units or specialists that can do so is very powerful.
Right.
However, these steel balls absolutely run away with killing the tarantulas.
Yeah, the steel balls had really good rounds, and halfway to leveling.
I was just checking the experience on that to see they were both about halfway. Because that is another thing about steel ball gaming that is really key, and they actually increase the amount of experience steel balls need to level,
Right.
because of the danger of the snowball of an early level plus an early item.
Yeah, specifically it was to try and change the breakpoint. I think in this round one, make sure that you're not likely to level up a steel ball with Orange Man no longer on the board, steel balls needing 15% more hit points. Because getting a steel ball up to level 2 and then getting a heavy armor or something for it was just devastating. B-Man took the Wasp call-in, so did Steel Stain. B-Man is putting the Wasps on that flank where the Phoenix are. They are closer to the Phoenix. The Phoenix did level, so trying to knock the Phoenix out before the Fangs can handle the many, many Wasps.
I think they will.
And Steel Stains is right here going straight to tower, so they won't because they will be fighting during tower debuff. So this
Oh my gosh.
is the thing Steel Stain has absolutely added to his game. We thought he was good. He's won 7 of those Vanguard tournament, the pre-release early access tournaments. But
Oh, is that all?
that is all, yes, that's all. But
Wow, that's amazing.
did a lot of that through purely standard play to the point of being almost predictable with it. Really added things
Stubbornly
like
standard.
this, where he's got crawlers on the line, he's got call in on an unprotected flank, and just buys a whole lot of tempo. So you've seen this with Zemp. I think you see it with Flower Fairy, and I think you see it with Steel Saint. Players who are generally deep deployed, playing from standard, and still manage to play a tempo game in terms of putting hit point damage on the bar, preventing hit point damage to themselves, and it's amazing to see. Like it's
Going for the tempo item. So B-Man takes the photon coating absolutely for the steel balls unless it goes on the Typhoon from his specialist.
I think the steel balls, but
I think so too.
if you're Steel Sane, do you take extended range marksman? Not when you're getting pressed, right?
Not when your opponent's showing wasps. You've already got birds as well, so I think that's not. And
Yeah.
Steel Sane is traditionally a marksman player, but I think that
Right.
he's in Phoenix
Yeah,
from his round 1 commit.
Yeah, he skipped it. He's in his Phoenix. B-Man is added this flank crawler last round to try and pull. Now adds the deep flank crawler, so we're going to get even more pull. You see the scorpions for arrive for Steel Sane, but if you've got good crawler positioning, the scorpions lock onto the crawlers. This time, as you can kind of see, it didn't go that way for a while. Eventually, though, we get crawlers straight up the middle, and they do get to the tower. I think some of those are off of the mobile beacon.
Yes.
So really good use of the mobile beacon to kind of thread through things. It gets to the tower, and go ahead.
It's really interesting because your opponent is the Typhoon Specialist. So the Scorpion ad not only answers the balls, but also the Typhoons. And once you get your chaff clear sorted, which he does have a bit lacking at the moment, just because it's so early and you can't solve everything at once, I think he's in an incredibly solid defensive formation right now off the bat.
And see, I think of it the opposite way around. I think the Scorpion is a trap into this build. And for me,
I know.
like I
so
love
it'll
to
be
see
curious
it.
to see.
Yeah, so I'd love to see how B-Man runs it to pull this around. Both players took the Wraith. As you said, Steel Sane needed the chaff clear. And B-Man adds a boat immediately.
Sells the balls.
Sold out of the balls. So allowing Steel Sane's Scorpions to basically... Yep, you have countered the steel balls. I'm going to switch to something else now.
Right.
But I'm going to keep the same pressure on.
And the steel balls, of course, were a 0 investment in terms of techs or deploys or recruits,
Right.
and an active since being starting units, and you get your money back off levels.
Right.
But if anything, this indicates that B-Man sees the Scorpion as an answer.
Yep. And I think he sees it as an answer in part because of his chaff deployments.
Sure. Oil to slow things down is really strong.
Right.
A bit lacking in the anti-air. The Overlord will beat the Wraiths. There is one Phoenix that's going to have its work really cut out for it to try and carry this. Oh, almost a flank with chaff to distract the birds, but decided against it at the last second.
Alright, changed out of it at the last moment. 19719 wanted to know if those are Woot Tech boats. They are Woot Tech. So the Woot Techs are Overlord Artillery and Jump Drive, which what Woot will do is essentially what was just done to Mr. Zeke, he was describing in chat, where an opponent will build a heavy attack on one side, just the way that B-Man is doing here, and then get you to overcommit to answering that one side, and use Jump Drive to jump a whole flotilla of Overlords to the other side of the board.
Those birds got it done. And now they leveled. Oil was really strong.
What do you mean now they leveled?
Lightning Storm. The birds leveled. The ones behind the right-hand tower for Steel Sane that had to kill
I see.
Overlord and the
got
Wraith.
it. This pack that are cleverly hidden from me. I see.
They were the MVPs of last round hard.
Right. Gold damage dealer. Earned their level, have already been promoted.
And he does decide to use the chaff when he tries to push with the boat. Going to beacon around the oil makes a lot of sense. The Lightning Storm is going to absolutely hurt the air player.
Yep.
Jumps the Wasp out of the obvious Lightning Storm, so B-Man playing a flexible air aggro.
Alright, coming in on the left-hand side.
Minimizing the Lightning Storm as much as possible. And missling out the chaff on that side. I think that missile strike should actually be a little bit up and to the left from our perspective, so that since the chaff is going to pull towards the flank, it'll be actually clear more of it. It's going to kind of pull it out. Oh, kind of repositions a little bit more like where I would do it a little bit more than that, but it's a better airstrike for sure.
Right. And drops the airstrike originally because he's thinking about the spells, came back around to check that the positioning is right.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to lose all of your time getting a perfect airstrike positioning.
Right.
That might get to tower. The chaff does get the head of it. The lightning storm does get the wraith.
Yeah, everything got slowed down over there, even if it didn't get to.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it wasn't killed by the lightning storm.
We do still slip in to get the tower. Those birds will go down, but there's way too much for the boat to be able to take care of, especially once the tower goes down and the birds pivot. We have a moonwalking arclight trying to style on him.
Very nice, but no style points for you. That would be the Triple Threat Tricksters tournament, not this one. B-Man down to 1784. Steel Sane still on a pristine 3700. B-Man needs to add something.
Ooh, the marksman is really strong into all the air. Steel Sane is loving that.
Yeah, that drop is great for him. A range for...
And then immediately air click on that.
It actually immediately clicked range on his own Wraith in order to ensure that they weren't getting marksman. Now he takes the anti-air specialty.
There's the air tech, yep.
So anti-air aerial specialization increases the attack's damage by 75% and increases range by 30% against aerial units. And yeah, if you're running the flotilla approach, here we did talk about the Woot techs. Here they are: Overlord Artillery and Mothership. Oh, sorry. It's usually Overlord Artillery and Jump Drive. For B-Min, it's Mothership because of the marksman level or the marksman drop. So he's kind of trying to preempt that, but
covering the Wasp call in, I was curious if they were going to get around to that between the summon and one pack jumped. The left blue boat is going to really struggle though against a ranged Wraith and a mark. The insta-lock, too. Oh, no. Yeah, this is just an absolute dead-on-arrival push. The marksman drop was just brutal, though. And the Wraiths are going to screen the Wasps to get too close to the marksman.
And that is a win for Steel Sane. Obviously, all of the players have had their MMRs dropped. Steel Sane is well above a 2000 MMR player on the regular. Currently sitting at 1874 just means he hasn't played a ton since the 1.0 release in Season 1. Beats B-Man here. Epic defense. What other match do you want to jump into?
That was a surgical
Let's take Dachshund and Noda.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Fated to Fail tells me that was not how to do that aggro. Don't copy it. And
yeah, I agree.
No-Co for Oig was saying, welcome to chat, by the way. First time chatter. Appreciate you being here. Is a Woot viewer and says Woot goes jump third usually. It's about cannon first, wasp second about 80% of the time. So I'm thinking of it in terms of I usually don't see Woot against players who aren't sufficiently high level to be pushing him to the edge, which a lot of times winds up with forcing him into potentially Photon or potentially just having the second tech as well. I'm sorry, Erdnot Shrek, so you did get the caster curse there.
It was a rough match, but it happens to everybody. Replicate crawlers can always spiral out of control when you're not ready for it. Well, this is going to be a juicy nuke. Just deletes that left side for blue.
Boom QC.
There's a lot of giants on the board for red.
No, nuke does not go through the shield.
Any shield, in fact.
It does damage to the shield. So if the shield has 1 hit point, all 70,000 damage from the nuke are applied to the shield. If the shield is gone before the nuke lands, then obviously it goes to the unit. So.
Right. Interestingly, if you have shielded fangs, they survive a nuke.
Yes.
As long as their shields are still intact at the time of the nuke. Like, anything shielded, the nuke does an instance of 70,000 damage, and since shields will block 1 instance of damage, regardless of overkill.
Right. They block 1 instance of damage
That's
up
how
to
that
the hit
interacts.
point value. And they don't actually necessarily delete the shield. A level 2 fort with an 80,000 hit point shield loses 70,000 hit points off of it, so it would still be
Fair
sitting
enough.
there. Dachshund at
War Factory.
1658 going to a War Factory with anti-missile. That anti-missile is to protect his range launcher overload phoenixes from the anti-missile or anti-air missile barrage on Kanoda's forts. Keep his single target damage dealers alive so that they can kill off the forts. And also has a level 3 Wraith over here that is not yet detected. We saw blue hair and a lot of players pick up running healing on Wraith. Dachshund is one of the few players at this level that does not run heal on a Wraith, runs armor enhancement instead, and that does not help you against this anti-air barrage. So he's kind of committed to going to an anti-missile defense to it.
Obviously, the War Factory is also pretty solid into the fortresses themselves, as long as he can get some chaff out in front and it doesn't get locked by too much instant damage.
Right. There isn't a ton of instant damage, but there are a high-level pack of steel balls coming right behind that rhino. They do get hung up on chaff. Dachshund very good at chaff deployments. And as you can see, gets the chaff cleared.
It just looks like he's getting pushed. Yeah, the whole, like, he wins where his War Factory is because it's an amazing answer, but he needed 3 of them.
Right, and does not have time to get 3 of them out. Because Kanoda is going to do some 2,300 damage and hand the dog a woof. Waited 1 turn too long to War Factory is what he says, and that is exactly what Titan just said as well. Well, you couldn't have asked for 2 more evenly matched players there. Dachshund and Kanoda at each at 2009 plus or minus 1.
Right. Yeah, and the War Factory was an absolute super hard counter to the board.
Right.
I wonder if it was worth trying to... I don't know if you used your cell that round, but the level 3 Wraith kind of got insta-deleted by the marksman.
Why aren't you running...
And would have made a great War Factory.
Dachshund, why aren't you running heals on your Wraith like so many other players do for kind of that build? And yes, Decaf, they did change the hit point damage from all giants. Giants do 350 and War Factories do 550.
Is it 550? I could have swore it was 500.
I think it's 550. Is it 500? We can go check that real quick. I don't want to misquote.
I'm popping in the patch notes now.
Yeah, appreciate it. Changed it when having heal instead of armor cost you a tourney final. Okay. Fair enough, Dachshund. Fair enough. So it's a nope, nope, nope. Alright. Going around the top, unbeatens. Dillo beat T-Dunk. CrossFit over Vibe. Goff the Great gets to 3-0 against Hoiberg. Dionys over Avalios. 38 degrees Celsius beat What's a Woman. We saw Steel Sane beat B-Man. We saw Kanoda beat Dachshund. And Dolmont V 2.0. The 2.0 version beats Blue Hair. Nicely done.
War Factory is 500.
500, thank you for the update. Shade beats Fuzzgun. You've got T-Man against Genghis Wolves still ongoing. Soft Dream Boy ends Stoney's run at 2-0. And Gotia's Prime beat Pikokishi. And OnlyFangs is 3-0 after beating Position 6. We'll jump into the T-Man versus Genghis Wolves.
Yes. What an interesting name, Genghis Wolves.
Yes, faded armor does have the advantage of popping a nano repair on it, for sure. Yes, decaf.
Nope.
Everything else does base price damage.
Genghis is running Exodia with Marksman Complement. It looks like it's a multi-directional ball rush that's getting shut down by Scorch Vulcan and got flanked. Yeah, this looks like we caught the Genghis Wolves stabilizing for a hard win.
Both players had the ER Vulcan. T-Man doesn't seem to have any Vulcans on the board. And that is this. I don't think you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Mustang. It was a valiant effort at the end. I will grant you that. Charge! No. We're waiting for 38 degrees Celsius to respond? I don't think so. I presume this one has ended. Well, it is still waiting to end. But we have seen how it's going to end.
Right.
This is a little bit rare. 38 degrees Celsius. Every player they have beaten has won every other match they've played. So they have the full 6 minor points. So have done it the hard way so far. Dillo drops from 1st seed to 5th seed on 4 minor points. Soft Dream Boy, Dionys, and Genghis Wolves are ahead of them at this point. We will have 13 unbeatens, so Hoiberg in the spoiler role will be facing 38 degrees Celsius, and everything else should add up to 15. They affect the seeds for every match, decaf, and the so it's seed for every future match. You can see that that's the sort order currently. Steel Saint is 13th because he's got no minor points from any of his opponents. 91 Varus presumably abandoned. Amernova was providing 1 by being 1-0. B-Man was providing 2 by being 2-0. But neither 91 Varus nor Amernova has won since then. So Steel Saint has dropped from being one of the top seeds in the tournament down to the bottom of the unbeaten, and therefore facing into the top tournament. Fortunately for him, the top is currently 38 degrees Celsius and Soft Dream Boy. Ruh-roh.
Right.
Or it could be CrossFit now. Now that match has finished. So you will have Steel Saint against CrossFit. Shall we stick with this? The other possibility here would be top seed Dillo against Kanoda.
That Dillo Kanoda looks really, really good.
It would be really good, right?
And
we have shown Steel Saint.
Yes, we have. I'm a really big fan of watching Dillo play. They're very good.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a little, I say strange, but more as to mean unconventional, which makes them a little less predictable in my opinion. I also happen to know that they tend to really play whatever unit cards drop, making the most of the unique properties that it will give you.
Right, and which is a really valuable skill, following the heart of the cards.
Yes. Because every one of those cards is tuned from a balance standpoint to be worth taking in the right scenario. So if you teach yourself to look for those scenarios, then you teach yourself to be ready to capitalize on opportunities. And that's a really rewarding way to play, and it also keeps things fresh and interesting. So he's really good, and he's also, in my opinion, fun to watch. So. All right. So we are waiting for the last few matches to wrap up before we can go ahead and get underway. It's been a really interesting tournament so far. Very much seeing a bunch of different things. We've seen boat aggro. We've seen some standard defense with Vulcan Melter, but we've also seen kind of a fort push from standard, kind of rebuffing a Arclight Marksman board. So just kind of a lot of variety, not very samey right now.
Right.
And for those of you keeping score at home, we did see a War Factory lose.
Nah.
So this is not the tournament from 2 weeks ago.
Right. Yeah, War Factories took those.
Although, to be fair, that War Factory pulled its weight and then some.
Right. But War Factory had the big hit point debuff to get it back to the appropriate tune, I think. Yeah.
It's funny, actually, in the chat, I saw a new player say something along the lines of, man, it feels like War Factory needs more HP. I just casually mentioned that it used to have that and was overpowered and has just recently lost some and is still more than tanky enough.
Right. Well, and that is one of the interesting things about the game, right? Is it is balancing it at the highest level, the advanced level, the middle level, and the beginner level is almost impossible, right?
Right.
Because, you know, like people are going to have different skill levels, they're going to have different techs, they're going to have different positionings, etc. So things that seem super overpowered, like there was a rant on Reddit recently where I was reading it and I was like, yeah, those are not overpowered. Like it's a, you know, but if, apparently at that player's level, that's overpowered, and they're seeing it every game, and it's really, really frustrating because if you don't do X, you lose, right? And then he got frustrated. He's like, "Well, I'm 55 hours in, and now people are telling me get good." So you're like, "Well, yes," because the game has that much depth. But
right, that's maybe not the most diplomatic way of putting it, but also if one goes to Reddit for their rant, then the diplomatic response is not what you're inviting. There are forums for genuine, I don't know what to do here, although that takes a little bit more introspection to say.
Right.
You'll often find some really specific and key advice to help you through whatever plateau you're at.
Right.
Because up until you are in the 2000s, whatever the thing is that you think is unbeatable is beatable.
Yeah, that is very true. And the element there is that you used the phrase plateau, and there really are MMR plateaus that you'll reach as you're climbing, that you're like, okay, I have reached blank, I've reached this level,
right?
The set of skills that I learned to get to this level are foundational. Now I need to learn the next level, which might be how to pull units, or positioning of your own units, timing of chaff. It could be recognizing that you're out of the rock, paper, scissors of what unit counters what, and you need to get into the rock, paper, scissors of what tech counters what on the units that counter each other.
When does this unit beat that unit? Because it might be positional, it might be tech related, it might be tempo or level related.
Right.
The snowballs matter.
We do not get the Dillo match that we thought we were going to get. Looks like we had we have somebody abandoned, I guess, because Piko Kishi wasn't in this spoiler roll. But we will get the Steel Sane versus CrossFit that we were looking at. The other possibility would be Goff the Great against Dionis.
You did point out Goff the Great as a dark horse in the qualifier, and we have seen a Dionis match. They played very well, so let's take a sneak peek at what Goff the Great has to show for themselves.
All right.
Will the plateaus affect leagues? Possibly, but ultimately leagues are determined by combat power. And we will have to wait and see at what combat power correlates to what MMR, approximately speaking,
Well,
to be able to better answer that.
I kind of answer that from the previous build. Is you're going to see about 2,000 combat power per 100 MMR.
Okay.
Whatever the top, if the top is going to be 2,400 MMR and you're at 1,200, you're going to be about 12,000 combat power below them. So maybe if they're reaching Grandmaster at 101,000, you might be reaching 89,000. And again,
Right.
Sheer number of hours on the game is one of the things that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to round 4 of Weekend Tournament America's number 73. Goff the Great, nearside blue, a Typhoon specialist with ball crawl, up against Dionys, far side, a marksman specialist, and Dionys has the sledgehammer crawler start.
And this is looking like a patch from, 4 months ago. Sledges versus balls in a classic defense versus one-sided aggro.
And we get
this is borderline nostalgic.
This is borderline nostalgic. We get the 2 arc lights for chaff clear for Goff. The positionings on the outside, not leaving the room for the War Factory, just gonna come straight out and punch you in the mouth.
And not room for a fort either, because sometimes you see the 4x4, sometimes you see the 7x7.
Yeah, true enough. So, very straight up, let's go. Mr. Zeke, thank you so much for the sub. Welcome.
Welcome to the family. Got your vertical sledgehammers, which are a fantastic tool when facing off against steel ball pushes because of the amount of time that all the balls spend ramping up one sledge at a time.
Right.
Right now.
Seeing that right here, where they're locked onto one sledge. Same thing. It take a while to ramp up before they're doing full damage.
They had better chaff clear overall behind, so they still get through. But one pack of sledges.
I was going to say,
and for
Dionys was covering both sides of the board there, right? So
right.
Covering the left, covering the right.
But it's a round 1.
So, yeah, it's a round 1. Everything was off balance for Dionys, or symmetrical for Dionys, and off balance for Goff. So he has the advantage of, pressing some aggro early.
And the balls don't level, and honestly, I think Dionys is in a great position and gets his marksman now, which will be able to start popping those balls. 1 by 1, sub-staying, redeploy. Lots of interesting options.
Very good. Advanced.
Both defending and pushing an aggro.
I'm confused why the game starred out Dionys' name there. I apologize for that. Do have things on a higher degree of filter than you might normally, because we are a family-friendly channel. But Dionys, of course, this is not offensive in any way. Long-time name. Adds a crawler Goff adds a crawler in the flank. Dionys is putting the marksman behind tower, kind of straight into this push.
A little deep for my taste.
And Dionys redeployed the vertical sledge to horizontal here. So if this side loses, the idea is we're going to pull from right to left, and these guys actually will be vertical for the pull. Dionys also dropped a crawler on the flank, so he has an unprotected flank, and he's going to get a tower quicker than Goff can get into Dionys' tower. Question is most of the fighting over by then?
There's going to be a good bit of fighting left, I think. The real question is if the sledges will be able to clear the crawlers before they get in on Orange Man.
They're not paying attention to the crawlers. Orange Man is paying attention to the crawlers. Ruh-roh.
And that's why I think he was too deep. If he had been more forward, he would have shot the balls and would have been behind the sledges, and it would have changed the aggro lines.
Right. Well, that is fixable because Dionys has redeploy, right?
Right.
Being right up in here is what you're thinking about.
It also means that you could slide around the steel balls to make room for your War Factory or Fortress in this push later.
Right.
So redeploy has a whole slew of optional changes that come from that.
Right. Contrarian Orange, am I the quieter one, or is Alpha the quieter one? We get the reinforcement drop. Alpha is way louder. Okay, we will drop your overall volume. We were trying to fix, because Alpha had been on a mic that was kind of
Wait,
fading
I'm always
in and out.
screaming. I hope that's not as negative as it sounds.
That is what it sounds like. You are way louder than I am, so I'll drop you by 10% or so. Let's see.
Okay.
It is tough.
Another vertical sledge.
It's tough to volume everything correctly, and I'm not getting a monitor in. Not getting a monitor in my ear. Yeah, we've got oil to slow things down. This is classic if you are getting pushed like this. Oil on round.
Mm-hmm.
If you know your guy comes out round aggro, even on round 1 can be... even round 1 can be pretty painful. But the...
Round 1 you miss your deploys. Round 2...
Oh no, I've done it to Void on round 1. It was great.
Wow, that's exceptionally... Were you like quick supply or something?
I was quick supply, yes.
Okay. I'm sure he absolutely loved that. Ooh, that's actually a really good bubble to block a good chunk of that oil for the beacon.
Yeah, the bubble did great. And he's got his Typhoons for the shaft clear now. They're really going to help the steel balls punch through. That's the idea behind this build. So, again, we get Goff, like B-Man before him, running one of my favorite builds.
And crawlers with a beacon pour through every little gap and hole in your formation because they only aggro perfectly next to each other.
Right.
This orange man has been glorified crawler clear, for the most part.
And he just fed a whole bunch of experience to this steel ball that barely lived.
Oh, dodged, proccing the missile at least. The bubble stays, and the oil was scooted just enough that a slight angle difference will still mean that there's a clear, non-oiled mobile beacon path to tower. Phoenix could be good on defense, although you have your orange man, although he's not been super contributing. Mustang is decent. The Rhino makes a ton of sense for the person pushing. Oh, you're gonna take it into the steel balls?
Yeesh. I don't like that at all. For Goff, I would love to see the...
put it there?
For Goff, I'd love to see the Phoenix or the Farseer, but the fact that all 4 of these are 16 meter per second just fits so perfectly.
I love the birds for Ionis.
Right. Now,
Boom Rhino.
Boom Rhino, and this is why the steel balls in my build are not on the line. They are back here. You can delete the Boom Rhino before it gets to them, and you trap it on the Typhoon bubble. So you take it on the shield, but you don't take it on everything.
This is also potentially something that could either be EMP'd or hacked. And there is photon coating, but that would be an extremely expensive upgrade to force out of the Rhino position player.
Right. You'd love to force that out as Goff.
You mean as Dionis?
No.
I'm sorry, Dionis is red. I got the names backwards, 100%. Yes. I'll be curious to see how this Boom Rhino does.
Yeah, it does great. That positioning is just subtly wrong for Goff.
Well, there is redeploy.
There is redeploy, and you can fix it next
that
round.
Rhino
that Rhino booms
badly,
deeply, and he's going to get in, pops the missile, still gets the tower with the Phoenix doing the work there, and he's going to clean up the rest of the board during the debuff. So you can see, you can see why I say Goff is a threat to win, and you can see how he beat B-Man, or I'm sorry, you can see how he beat Blue Hair, you can see how he beat Dachshund, And he is going to be a threat to beat anybody, I think.
Ooh. Vision Giant. Kind of strong for both of them. Definitely a fortress defense moment. He scoots his sledges back. Curious choice. No, he moved his rhino, I guess. Lightning Storm. Ionis is in danger of getting tempoed out if they don't respect this. Uh-oh. Takes a hacker for the boom rhino that's not there anymore.
So you're talking about the broken... this bit? The kind of broken... solar collectors that we're in? It just bugs me that they're yeah, it is weirdly distracting, and then the fact that there's this obstructs view of the actual gameplay from the angle I like to run, right? Obviously the devs tend to run it from more like this viewpoint. So.
Right. That lightning storm is just brutal.
Hacker has
Something
done
cleaned up that Phoenix.
Work.
I'm not sure what did.
The hacker's done good work on the right side. It does go down eventually.
Wow. I'm actually really impressed that Dionis held on the right side in the face of a lightning storm, though.
Right.
That bodes well for them long term. A fortress for defense, potentially. Or for aggro, pushing. Wraith is also really interesting. Like, the only thing I'm not a huge fan of here for the push is Scorpion, and honestly, all of these are potentially good on defense.
Right, Sandworm and Wraith fit the push the best. Goff goes for the Scorpion as the...
Really?
I presume as the answer to the other non-Wraith items on the board, or on the draw.
Right, it's based
but also...
clearly to try and answer Sledge, but that's really weird. Boat with
it also
chin gun
answers Sledge
really hurt.
and Rhino, right?
Yes, but there's only one Rhino, and it's specifically being used to answer the flank Typhoon.
Right, but there could certainly be another one. So, I think that's what he's thinking with it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Right.
We've ranged the Phoenix. He does run EMP on them, so that would be the way to turn off the chin gun, assuming you can get through the chaff and get to them. With all of these Typhoons,
right.
You should be able to get through the chaff. And he's gone. The hacker has enhanced control. I think that was last round to prevent the boom from blowing up immediately after he took control, because of course boom rhino
right.
damages both sides. Erdnot Shreks, no. Dionis is a perfect gentleman. I have never seen them be toxic. I do not have them blocked. That is, I have the filtering up too high, I think. So I do apologize to Dionis for showing their name in that way. It's not at all indicative of them as a human being or the way that they behave. Goff all but getting it done here. There's that one Overlord survives along with one Marksman. Tower timing is going to work for Goff, but there are a couple of things left, and that will be lethal to those poor Phoenix. Dionys wins round 6, finally takes some hit points off of Goff. Goff down to 39-32.
I think that unit dropped. Oh, another lightning storm. Dionys takes it this time. But that's not what you want to see if you're Dionys, because lightning is super painful. Goth has to take it. I can't imagine what they're considering otherwise. I'd also really like to see them sell the Scorpion and get a real commitment into an anti-boat answer.
Right. They did not take the...
Oh my goodness.
Right? Didn't even take the improved shield device, which is where
the
I
oil's
thought
going
they
to
might
slow
have been
everything
going.
in. Right, that's the only theoretical alternative option. And they're not bubbling their Typhoons into a lightning storm, which would be really sick value. I think these boats just win. I mean, there's really good Phoenix, and if the Phoenix connect, then I don't think EMP on the Phoenix is important because they're high enough level that they're more or less killing boats when they shoot them.
And the Overlords have photon emission now, so you're not going to be able to EMP them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That ship has sailed.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Oh no, the positioning on the boats meant that they didn't actually EMP themselves. That can't have been what they really wanted.
Does EMP the entire rest of the board almost perfectly, though. So it looks
That is
like
true.
it's intentional. And you can see
I guess
they haven't been the front unit up until right now where it's worn off. So they really weren't getting targeted.
Okay. The range on those Phoenix is a bit of a pain. The Phoenix do not run Elite though, so this is their final form as it pertains to range.
Right. Goff is running a very aggro Phoenix build. It gets the round win, drops Dionys to 1188 on the back of these two heroes. And now we see why Dionys was asterisked out. It's because they were at some point going to get the 1188s. Oh, never mind.
Jav is really strong here. This cluster of units in the back right corner with the ball and the level 2 Typhoon and the Hacker is the target that I think you want to jab. He's trying to snipe the Phoenix.
Right. Level 4 Phoenix, but we also pick up the Scorpion and the Typhoons, right?
Right.
Goff's dodge is on the corner over here. Goff is also taking the loose formation. We've seen how powerful that can be. Dionys is going to try the Overlord kind of mobile beacon over here. What are you javelining? Did he sell out of... Oh, he did. He sold out of a boat that was right here. So...
He redeployed it.
Oh, that's the one he redeployed, of course. No, it's not.
It's not?
He can have redeployed it, but this one has 0 hit points damage dealt, so it's definitely not the redeployed one. Is the redeployed one on a flank? No. Oh, it's next door to it. I see.
Yeah, it did get redeployed with it. The gold, and it's probably going right back.
I had UI covering the second Overlord that was over there.
Gotcha. Takes one of the birds, and misses the Scorpion.
Yeah, missing that Scorpion was probably pretty painful. Dionys Goff gets all the way into the tower. Working his way right to left across the dial. He's going to have about 600 left, drops Dionys to 588. Goff on the verge of moving through to the quarterfinals. Dionys takes the Mustang.
I think there's a chaff clear problem for Ionis. Crawlers are distracting too long, and they need something that can reach the Phoenix.
Right. So
Mustangs could potentially do that.
Yeah, ranged Mustangs. We've got 3 of them. For Goff, the Mustangs are not ranged yet. He's got 1,000 to spend, of course.
I'd also really like to see range and/or well, not range probably, because then you want them to be in front of the boat. So probably Fang's shield, then I guess.
Right. No.
You want something to make your chaff more valuable into the Phoenix.
Right. Last round, you asked the question, what got the tower? He had taken homing missile on the Typhoons. So
I see.
2 barrage, 2
right.
Yeah, 2 level 2 Typhoons. Which these ones have now leveled up to level 3, but they were level 2 at the time, which was doing 1350 per missile per shot was enough to take out the tower. Tower's been leveled up to level 2 this round, but it was not last round.
If these boats die, but the Mustangs live and the chaff is gone, the Mustangs have a real shot of taking out the Phoenix.
Yeah, there are enough Mustangs on the board there to take them out. And he's running charged shot, not launcher overload, so he can improve the rate of fire. He definitely needs something to answer the Mustangs on the board. That could be fire on the ground, or it could be ranging his own Mustangs so that they live a little longer.
And those Mustangs also really helped clear the chaff.
Right, that fixed the chaff problem that you were talking about. Underground threat for both players. For Goff defensively back here, kind of contributing more chaff on the left side. I do worry about this gap. If I were Dionys, that's what I would be looking at. Or potentially
There's a
just
big
putting them in my
empty
own
space.
Dionys with a replicate and impact drill crawlers as well.
Putting it in the back corner. Really? Where is it gonna go? I mean, we can see the board back right is absolutely where it should go to get a replicate off and swarm tower. I think there it might be too much. Although if it holds the chaff back and the Phoenix is... Well, the Phoenix won't fly forward either, though.
It holds the steel balls back. But yeah, he's moving it now.
I'm not even sure that delaying the steel ball... Oh, and he... Yeah.
Goff is redeploying one of the steel balls.
I think playing it with the crawler flank that you're adding makes more sense. Right. So you occupy those immediate crawlers, and then they all come in together instead of your flank just dying. The lightning storm is going to really, really hurt, though, because the Mustangs were what carry it against the Phoenix.
And Goff has added, in addition to barrier, has also added aerial specialization to the Typhoons, so they should really tear up. Even though the Dionys has fixed the photon issue, so that 3 of the overlords are covered with photon, they should still get chewed up by those anti-air Typhoons.
I am not a big believer in anti-air Typhoon against boat level 2.
Well, and the other thing is, it kind of kept them off of some of the chaff that needed to be cleared, I think. It took them a lot longer to get through to that shaft, and Dionys is winning this round really big. Five surviving giants, a whole lot of units on the ground. Goff takes him to 10th round and loses to Dionys. Very, very nicely done. Dionys turns it around. Goff pushed him to the edge, and Dionys was able to stabilize and turn it around. Yeah, losing the... I think the impact drill replicate crawlers were such a huge choice in terms of...
Yeah.
You know, on the round that they're both dropping the underground threat. But really, the other bit, you called out that round where he stabilized to the right side despite the storm. He still lost the round and lost the left side tower on that round, but the fact that he stabilized to the right side despite the lightning storm, that was the warning sign for Goff that this build was not popping off the way it needed to.
Right.
And Dionys was able to turn it around just barely in time.
Yeah.
Erdnot Shrek says there's a level 7 worm in play if you hurry up to watch Mike Tyson. Oh dear.
I haven't seen a Tyson in a while.
Yeah, Mike is... Mike, that game has ended. I will not spoil it for you if you're in it. Around the room, Pico Kishi in the spoiler role has spoiled 38 degrees Celsius's match. Agodius Prime beats Soft Dream Boy. Shade beats Genghis Wolves. The match we didn't watch was Kanoda beating Onlyfangs. Dolmont beats Dillo. Goff the Great beats Dionys. And again, why is this censored here but not here, and not in the top bar, but very odd. In the CrossFit versus Steel Sane game, CrossFit gets the win. That makes him the presumptive favorite out of the remainder of this board to advance. We will have 6 unbeaten, so there will be no spoiler in round 5. We'll have a spoiler in round 6 to figure out the, figure out whether or not there's a 7th round.
Right. So, Dillo lost. That's really interesting. I'm curious what happened there. I may take a peek at that game later.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to put name down to no filtering, because I think that is a little bit much here. Can we please get our people back? I wonder if I reload the No,
client.
I cannot. Okay. Yeah, well, actually, reloading the client is a pretty good example.
Right, because that'll show us what changes.
Right. So, but McFartload wanted to say, I'm a total scrub at this game. Are there any channels that are aimed at kind of teaching strategies that also keep up with the meta changes? So there is my channel. I'm not super aimed at that, but this, this live cast is. There is a text-based, one moment here. There's a text-based here that you can check out. That is maintained by Surrey Easy from YouTube.
I would also say Rooster has been putting together a few videos on the subject.
Right.
Specifically about things like chaff positioning, what it means to be playing standard, and what a few boards of standard look like.
Right.
And teased that they would also be doing similar YouTube videos relating to aggro and aggro defense, which are kind of the 3 umbrella styles of play.
Yeah, I was going to link that if you'd give me a moment.
Sounds like a plan.
But getting them all called up quickly enough is
For sure.
a little tougher to do. So we gave you the Surrey Easy, sorry. And the second one is going to be Rooster. Goodness, what is it? Rooster YouTube. Okay. So that one. So, Mecha Monarch. So my YouTube, Mecha Monarch, Surrey Easy, Rooster PB. Those are the ones I would recommend, or kind of stand by. There are a lot of other channels out there. Some of them give better or worse advice. No, apparently Dionys is just going to be permanently blocked on my stream.
Strange.
My apologies, Dionys. I know I don't have you blocked. So we are through to round 5, the quarterfinals. Let us take CrossFit against Shade. CrossFit coming off of that big win against the big win against Steel Sane. And Doxson says, I kind of miss when all you had to do on aggro defense was conga line fangs and buy Vulcans and boats. Now you have to, like, think and stuff. It is true. It's true.
Which game are you jumping into? I missed it.
CrossFit game. Decaf, I don't think he has me blocked. I would be very surprised, but it's possible. And of course, it's always, I mean, it is plausible that I may have misclicked and blocked him at some point.
If you block somebody, you don't show up to them either.
No, I don't think
Interesting.
I don't think that's the case, because that tips that you've been blocked to people.
Right.
So if you're a harasser, that's not a behavior that you want as a developer. So yes, I will check my block list, but I'll do that after tournament, I think.
That would be interesting, especially if you didn't really pay attention to who you were flaming, and then you start to see just a bunch of stars.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be like a self-corrective behavior tip, although it would probably just...
Yeah. Welcome to round 5, the quarterfinals of Weekend Tournament European number 73. Or Weekend Tournament Americas number 73 even. CrossFit, near side blue, coming off of that win against Steel Sane in round 4. Shade on the far side, red, with the red-haired Fire Badger specialist. Crawler and Sledgehammer for him. CrossFit took the aerial specialist with Crawler and Mustang.
All right. So aerial versus Fire Badger, and Mustang and Crawler into Fire Badger isn't ever what you really want to see.
Yeah, that's gonna be...
I would not be surprised to see some air round 1 potentially out of CrossFit, knowing that there's a Fire Badger round 2 coming, and being Mustang Crawler into Sledge. And there's the air round 1.
Right.
Makes sense.
CrossFit is flying. I mean, cheating. And Shade is going to be in 5 crawlers, right? We know that as Fire Badger specialist, you've kind of locked one of the good answers to crawlers out, so you can kind of afford to go into crawlers in a way that maybe other people can't. CrossFit comes out with a Iron Cross. Is that the formation here?
Something like that, yeah.
With the Phoenix, both Mustangs, and I like that. You kind of do want your Mustangs together. Note that that looks to me like a Mustang ball formation.
Potentially, yeah, it definitely leaves room for that. It could also have forts in front of it, so I could see this turning into Fort Mustang ball or Mustang fort.
Yep.
And my suspicion would actually be fort, given that there's already sledges on the other side.
Yeah, it makes good sense.
Phoenixes are going to farm. Actually, it's surprising we didn't get a ton of kills. The crawlers did a lot of the killing, so they didn't quite get as much experience.
Right.
As they could have.
Of course, the sledges all survived to get cleaned up late. Shade does get that right side tower, so kind of did the best that he could. Gets both towers, but is going to, get farmed by the Phoenix. We knew that it was a round 1 win by air. So CrossFit on 4,800 hit points. Shade down to 3,900.
Two level 2 Fangs, level 2 Wasp. CrossFit does take the balls. I mean, if you're given them, then certainly. Wasp obviously doesn't make much sense into the Mustangs. It goes with Arc Lights. Interesting.
When you're getting a Fire Badger?
Yeah. It's good as the Crawlers and the Mustangs. Although, no upshoot. I was really strongly leaning to the blue Fangs,
There's a Mustang in the back corner. He's unlocked to bring out the Mustang, but there's no answer to the Wraith. The Mustangs are going to take forever to bring the Wraith down, and by then the Wraith will have eaten them, one would presume.
And these Fire Badgers are in the vertical sledge formation that we talk about that is good into Wraith ball. So much so that these level 2 steel balls are actually dying before they get through the Fire Badgers, which is what you would want. But the Mustangs are just going to struggle to kill that Wraith while it cleans up.
And protects the Phoenix from them, so the Phoenix can clean up a single target while The Wraith has
Tower.
taken care of all of the chaff, except for this one pack of crawlers over here.
It was enough, though.
Good night, Decaf. Thank you very much for all the hard work as mod today. Appreciate you being around all day. Appreciate you driving your folks home after their clubbing. It says 5 a.m. Good night, folks. Enjoy the rest of the stream. Be nice to Amaroq. And adds a fun fact that badger in French is an insult, referring to someone less capable of making use of their brain.
Interesting.
CrossFit takes
Heavy
heavy
armor.
armor, which is a great item for a level 2 steel ball, making it much harder to kill. Takes a second Wraith. I am guessing he's going to use that on the right side. No, actually covers the other angle on the Phoenix. I thought he might be using it to clear chaff on the right. Instead takes 2 more crawlers. I mean, properly positioned, they would do that. There was also a possibility of a crawler with a mobile beacon instead of 2 crawlers.
I mean, there were a lot of options here. Fording the outside tower for them is really strong. The level on the Phoenix is really important for being able to one-tap the sledgehammers. There's just a lot that CrossFit really wants to do, and this vertical fire badger is a huge thorn.
Yeah,
Really surprised they didn't take the heavy armor, to be honest.
Yeah, level
Shade.
on the Phoenix would have let him one-tap the fire badgers as well. So I thought that was surprising not to see taken. He chose to take a second or a third deployment, a second crawler deploy this round.
Those crawlers actually pulled the steel balls into popping some of the chaff clear, although they do still kind of get stalled. But with 2 Wraith, they are able to push through.
Yeah, that is a lot better chaff clear for CrossFit. Pushes all the way through to tower. Gets tower
Does get one of the Wraith.
before the crawlers get the far side tower. We'll clean up. There's no upshoot remaining. CrossFit wins around 3, dropping Shade to 33-15.
No level on the Wraiths yet, that's big. Intensive, though. You could intensive the steel balls this round to level 3 and let them be tanks. Not running armor, running fortified lock.
Shade takes mass-produced Wraith. I thought Shade might be thinking about electromagnetic impact, so that it can turn off key techs in this cluster and come back round after round, because it comes back every 3rd round.
Right. Degen. So, defensively using Degen.
Right. Degen from mass-produced Wraiths actually can kind of see that, right? It's a relatively cheap tech. You've made these into a 200 cost unit, and you're going to slap down the Degen and slow down the whole push. That used to be a canonical answer to it. And, well, we're taking the anti-interference module, which interferes against most things, but it does not interfere against Degen Beam.
Huh. Should it? Kind of feel like it should.
Yeah, hard to say. It feels like it should be in the related category, but
right.
Degen is...
It feels exactly like ER warfare, like electronic interference warfare.
Yeah, Degen is in the same category as Acid, so blocked by Photon, but not blocked by the anti-interference module. So we'll see how much that changes this push. Right, he's slowing all the units down,
Massively.
but also changes the engagement timings, how long it takes to kill different things. You can see what a big difference that's making. Eventually those rates do go down because they don't have range, and CrossFits do have range, so they hung out behind the steel balls and other lead units to last a lot longer than they did previously. That'll get all 3 rates surviving, both of these 2 leveled. So did the Phoenix behind. They've had that level available for a while. So
yes, they have.
CrossFit does 1100 damage plus and drops Shade to 2179.
Wow. 4 level 3 Fang. That's wild.
Yikes.
That's so much chaff, although that could feed levels if you're not careful. You want to make sure that you're not just throwing away experience at that point.
Right. If these guys go down, right, they're giving away 5 times as much experience as a level 1 Fang would. And that can really pump up a scaling unit, especially something like these Mustangs. If CrossFit were to level the Mustangs.
Also true.
He's taken the level 2 Sandworm to help this push. So it's looking a lot like Wasp Worm Wraith, except it's with Worm Wraith Phoenix instead. Captain Joyless says,
right.
Woohoo, I just won my very first 2 matches and I'm pumped for the game. Yep, welcome to the game,
very
my
nice.
friend. But as Mr. Zeke says, be ready for the losses and what they will teach. All of mine have taught me something new. That is actually one of the things I should repeat. I know we have a lot of people coming new to the game right now. Save the replay of your losses, especially the ones that frustrate you, where you're actually upset and you can't think it through. Right? Save it, watch it the next day when you're not emotionally involved in that match anymore, and watch it from your opponent's perspective instead of yours. Like you can hit Control-T on the user interface to switch which perspective you're seeing it from. You'll literally see it as though you were your opponent. And you can start to see what would I have done against myself? What holes do I see? And then watch what your opponent actually does to capitalize on you. And speaking of capitalizing, we've got another 1,500 damage dealt from CrossFit to Shade. Shade down to 665. CrossFit is, well, you can see how buff the guy
super
is.
Heavy.
It does not look like he's breaking a sweat here at the moment.
I want to see that super heavy on the right Wraith. Okay, he puts it on the worm instead.
On the worm, yeah. That worm now has 250,000 hit points. All of the Wraiths are level 2. They now have floating artillery array to go with them. We see a GG. Sorry for the spoilers. We know this match is going to end.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, 8-gun Wraith is really powerful here. And interestingly enough, it turns out you can just power through a degen when your opponent doesn't have sufficient anti-air.
And he's allowing these unranged Wraiths to get out in front of everything else. They have shorter range than any other unit on his board. So they come out in front, they apply the degen, but then they die. If he had tech range on them, maybe he keeps them back and keeps them alive a little longer. And alive and applying the degen a little longer would be better for them. He's trying a melting point with energy absorption against the massive Sandworm. The idea there is eventually your melting point damage ramps up. It starts at an attack of 1, takes forever to get up to its full strength, but if it did, it would get to the point where it could out-heal anything. What does it max out at? 30,000 DPS?
Yeah, almost
like
32,000 DPS.
I knew you'd know that number. Titan has studied, but if the tech gets turned off, or if it gets... in this case, it's doing all of that healing. Oh, it did... Yeah, eventually the worm goes underground, so it's back down to healing at 1. As soon as it's back down to healing at 1, it dies. And that is CrossFit through to the semifinals. And thank you, Captain Joyless. It says, thanks, love your content. Do have some a shout out for a couple of follows. We had follows from Roll for Broke, from Sayerj, from Karazin, Human Today, and Savalin. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate all the follows this evening. Cyoxin says, that was tragic timing. The worm going underground just before the melting point had finished it off. Pretty brutal.
Right.
But
as a moral victory, at the very least, you lose by more than 350, so it's not like that was the make or break. That would be heartbreaking.
Right. That would have been awful. Let's check this blocked list real quick. I want to make sure I don't have Dionys on it for some reason. Sure I don't. No, I have... Oh my goodness. We had Cat was there and Dionys was there, so I don't know how that happened. But, alright. Let's see if we can come back into the tournament and reload the player
That's why
names
Cat's name was started out.
was
You
blocked
thought it was the Mew.
previously. Yeah, we thought it was the Mew, but it is not. It was Amaroq being foolish somehow. I know that
Oops.
sometimes I will click up on the username. I have a bad habit of clicking on the avatar because a different game that I played for a long time had to click on the avatar to get stats or something. So I did click on that, and apparently
Gotcha.
that will pop up. That little includes the block.
So do we want to check out the other unbeaten? Godis, Prime, and Konokeda?
Yep, that is what we are in. Godius Prime against Kanoda. Mr. Z says, a fun fact, Amaroq, I decided to check the Twitch directory for Mechabellum to look for any caster-type folks after talking with another streamer about shoutcasting it. Super glad I found you today. Well, awesome, man. I mean, that is what we're doing. That's, I have been hired to shoutcast the DreamHack Summer Tournament and then this Mechabellum Launch Clash Tournament tomorrow, so very much looking forward to that. Of course, the qualifiers are tomorrow. The finals are on Sunday, the 6th of October. So looking forward to both of those dates. Makes for a very long weekend, casting 3 weekend tournaments, and then the what's going to be about 8 hours of coverage tomorrow, 9 and change coverage tonight. So, yeah, my voice is going to be done. I will not be doing my normal Monday streams, I don't think, or I might just do some ladder with MMR and be very quiet.
Right.
So,
let someone else do the talking.
Yes. Godius Prime down to 1912. Kanoda's at 3860.
We have ourselves a fairly standard range war, the new Farseer with EMP on one side. It's hard to EMP marksman with that, though, because they will outrange you.
Right.
So it's a little tough.
EMPing the marksman basically would require also having taken range on it, and then winning the chaff war pretty handily.
Right.
He's also going Stormcallers with Launcher Overload. I presume Launcher Overload is the answer to the War Factory.
Well, the War Factory just got added. So you mean the War Factory is the answer to the Launcher Overload?
I see what you mean.
Because the range and launcher were there last turn.
Range and launcher were there last turn. Okay. So.
Interesting using a level 3 steel ball in the place of crawler to survive the missile as it tries to run distraction shots.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that is. I got this as a drop. I'm going to use it. It's got 15,000 hit points, and even if you had that piece that adds up to increase the damage dealt by a missile, it would still be at 15,000 exactly.
Right. I'm not entirely convinced it's worth it, but it's definitely creative, and it did eat the missile.
It did eat the missile, and they're still alive.
So that War Factory is pushing through pretty strongly while the boats are doing a fairly solid job, although an orange marksman is there.
And the...
Gets sniped.
Well, I was going to say one of the EMPs finally landed from the Farseers and disabled the anti-missile for a while. That's let some real damage get dealt. The Overlords have pushed through to the far corner.
Now there's just too much left, though. The marksman will finish this.
And the War Factory is another 500 hit points damage. Godius Prime down to 402.
No role used for the ER ball.
ER Steel Ball,
EMP
my favorite.
is by far the play.
Yes, EMP is by far the play here. It's way too late in this game for Enhancement Module, which you, of course, if you are new to the game, I should explain one of the cool things you can do with Enhancement Module is level up a Stormcaller for free, sell the Stormcaller, level up this one for free, next round you sell this one, you level up another one for free. Or, you know, you could pull the same trick on level up the Overlord, because leveling it up changes the sell price. So it changes from 400 to 600 sell price, but it costs you nothing to do it. So you'd get both of these levels for free, for example, and then you sell out of one of them and buy the second one back in. So Yes, we get
Now, due to timings, this shield will land before the massive EMP, so the War Factory will be protected under that. Everything else will get turned off.
Both players have the
Both.
shield airdrop. Godius Prime trying to get these guys out of the drop could conceivably have taken photon emission to try and protect against that big EMP.
Yeah. Really expensive, though. And I think... I mean, there's no way to protect the boat from the EMP without it, so maybe it's the right call. But without anything, I think that he is going to get cooked, because the anti-missile is going to shut down even the Overlord's basic attacks.
Right. If we'd taken speed, one of them would have gotten out of it, the other one wouldn't have. Without speed, they both get hit, and then they're just going to be sitting there with the War Factory in front of them. You can see the War Factory is shooting down their missile. It's not clear from the text about the Overlord, but their attack is a missile, and can be shot down by anti-missile the same as other missiles get fired.
There was enough missile to get through that War Factory on the right pretty cleanly.
Right. Level 2.
Okay.
I suspect one of the EMPs landed from this fellow here, the Sparseer. As soon as that lands, there's no more anti-missile. That lets the two Overlords get the job done, but by this point, they've headed way away from the main army. They're going to be over here by themselves. At least they have their chin gun back.
Right. The level 2 War Factory isn't dying, and the Orange Marksman will get the job done.
And Noda is through to the semifinals.
That's a cool looking avatar for Godius Prime, though, not gonna lie.
Yeah, Godius
It
Prime.
looks like some sort of gilded marksman with a sword or chainsaw, almost.
Right. And then there were three. Dionys, Kanoda, CrossFit. One of those three will be our Weekend Tournament America's champion tonight. CrossFit has done it several times. For Kanoda, I think it would be a first, unless I'm forgetting one. Dionys. Anybody remember if Dionys has won one?
I could see them having won, but I can't remember having seen them won.
Yeah, I think Dionys was a threat to win them on the regular well before you were part of the scene, and then had been playing part-time a little bit, like wasn't putting a lot of time into it, and had dropped a couple hundred MMR to the point of like giving people a really good match, but not quite a threat to win it all,
so to speak.
Yeah. And so hasn't been winning tournaments recently. But I can't remember if they actually turned the corner and won. I just remember them going deep on the regular. Go ahead, Doxson. Zalix has gone to bed. Pyramid is permitted. Official. The mods are asleep. Make Pyramid if dog wants.
I'm just casually encouraging it before he even asks.
It was funny. Zalix gave him a warning for it. I was like, hey, don't give a warning for that. This makes Caster happy. Puts a huge smile on my face to see it.
Yeah, if only you could structure it so that they start from the left, it could even point to the stream as like an arrow.
Ooh, a blank emoji so that people could do stuff like that.
Right. Like some kind of almost make your own art.
Right. It's just
This is still one of my favorites from Drewski.
Shield bubbles, yay. Well, I do have an artist working on a whole bunch of emojis for subscribers. I figured if Toast is going to be giving them out, I really should have a bunch better emojis going. We're not there yet. It is coming close.
Right.
We'll have a whole bunch of animated ones, a whole bunch of not animated ones. I'm really looking forward to debuting
really cool.
them. I was kind of hoping to be able to debut them for tournament, but something came up, so they'll be showing up sometime following that.
Right. And of course, everybody loves their plus and minus 50.
Yes, everybody. I took those straight out of the game. I'm thinking that, or not stretched. I'm definitely thinking that. There's my sledges.
Right. We need a crawler one. Like, in a perfect world, the nose even spins.
Right. Okay, who are we hitting with these Nightbot warnings? What have we done to people? I apologize to anybody that's trying to enjoy themselves.
Maybe it's getting mad at me for spamming?
Yes, it's probably upset at you.
Well, I could ban you, Mr. Nightbot. Actually.
Wait.
I know they're in the mod.
They're a moderator. You can't ban them. Yes. All right. While we are enjoying the silliness, we're going to run the ad. I'm going to grab some water. As you guys know, the channel is going to be following Canada versus CrossFit on the grounds that that could be the final. If Dionys can't beat 38 degrees Celsius to force our 7th round, this will be the final. Otherwise, it'll be Dionys against the winner. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, I guess if you have your favorite emotes and they are family friendly, fun, and on theme, feel free to share those of you out there watching and listening in the ether. This would also be a great time if anybody has specific questions about strategy, units, or players, or tournament stuff. Feel free to share. I know we're running ads, so not everyone can hear.
Right. I did want to give a quick shout to Mr. Zeke. You're talking about potentially shoutcasting. There is currently nobody shoutcasting anything other than Advanced Group 1, and nobody shoutcasting the mini tournaments right now. So that is a void that you could conceivably fill. So mini tournament, Advanced Group 1, obviously, would be a kind of a void to pick up. Just in the community as a whole.
And if you want to do that, I highly advise, dive into the content that's out there. For example, what Amaroq has on YouTube of watching the breakdown and analysis. Being new, that would give you an idea of what to look for.
Right.
And kind of get you prepared for that kind of commentary side of things. Because it would be interesting to hear a new player's perspective, kind of discovering things as opposed to perhaps a more analytical, predictive capacity.
Right.
It's being kind of unique.
Yeah, I do try to ensure that our coverage is aimed at both the new player and the experienced player. I'm not sure I always hit that, but it's the...
I think that you embody that truthfully. Certainly you are, within the community, probably one of the best casters for that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Also want to point out there is a Mechabellum Guild Discord that is invite only and with the motto, be a gentleman, win or lose, as the same kind of rules that we have here. No racism, no sexism, no homophobia. Do let us know. Abakio Blues, I've done Facecam for the for a previous tournament, for the DreamHack Summer Tournament, so you can find a face reveal there.
That's right.
I don't tend to put it on, in part because I have Kiddo showing up and I want to provide Kiddo some privacy rather than having them appear into frame. So I tend not to. I might be doing or might not be doing Facecam for some future tournament casts. So
your voice is so soothing to listen to, though. Like, legitimately, listening to you narrate, it's clear you have broadcast experience, which I know you do, but it shows through. So
thank you very much.
It's very engaging to listen.
Yeah, I've talked about this a little bit, but I did spend my um, formative years listening to some of the greats of baseball broadcast. That's where I get kind of the rhythm, etc., of speech there. Yes, Tugas, that Mecha Guild Discord is English language Discord. It's different from the official Discord of the game, and aimed at being a little bit less, because they're being intentionally open to the entire Mechabellum community there. They do have some more toxic folk and some people who are highly critical of the devs, etc. The Mechabellum Guild is aimed at being a little bit more like, let's get together. Like it's primarily, we started it as a let's find 2v2 partners together. So there are communications rooms for you to find a 2v2 partner, or have voice comms with 2v2 partners. There's strategy discussions, there's a general discussion, there'll be tournament discussions, and then some of the Mechabellum streamers have individual like broadcast booth rooms within the guild. So anything that you need to do, we can support there. Welcome to the semifinals, or perhaps the final, of Weekend Tournament America's number 73, CrossFit versus Kanoda. This is round 6 out of a potential 7. It depends whether Dionys can beat 38 degrees Celsius in the opposite match. CrossFit near side blue has options of Rhino, Giant, Fire Badger, and Elite. Kanoda on the far side has taken the Sabertooth Specialist with Crawler and Mustang. CrossFit has the Steel Balls with Fangs as a Rhino Specialist.
Right. Well, Kanoda has the Mustang Crawler. Thankfully, they're against Fang, which is good for the Mustangs, and there's not sledges.
Seeing this drop. Worst case is seeing CrossFit pick up 2 arc lights, and of course CrossFit is good enough to just know that cold.
Right, that is the unit that counters both of these units. If you're not planning on dropping, say, a Vulcan on round 2, if you're Giant, for example, then arc lights are almost non-negotiable for that unit start. Kanoda actually commits to 5 crawlers too, so super committing to try and just overwhelm. Definitely means there's nothing for the balls to shoot, so you are denying your opponent value that way. And they are Sabertooth, so they will have a single target source of damage.
And a tank
coming
damage.
Online.
Yeah, and a tank damage, right, next round. And he's leaving some 3x3 gaps for them.
Yes, and potentially for some Wraith.
Right.
As well, as we've seen be relatively common with this style of push.
And now it's 4x4, so I think there's giant gaps in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Both players on the same side. Kanoda on his right, CrossFit on his left. So that's a headbutt, and we haven't really seen a solid headbutt from round 1 in this tournament. Both players came out aggro. They just butt heads right away. Fantastic time to see it from 2 good players.
Right.
And we kind of tell this was how this round was likely to go from the arc lights, and as Titan had called out the crawlers. CrossFit wins round 1, drops Kanoda to 39.88. CrossFit's still at a pristine 5,200. We get round 2. One of those arc lights is already leveled, and we get the unit reinforcement drop, which includes Typhoon, Scorpion, Phoenix, Sledgehammer. Kanoda quickly takes the Scorpion to kind of have an answer to the Steel Balls, which surprises me a little bit when you also had your Sabertooth coming. For CrossFit, I love the idea of the Phoenix as a unanswerable answer to the Sledge, the Scorpion, the Sabertooth, and oh, by the way, it outranges the Typhoon. CrossFit ignores my advice, goes for the Typhoon, so a CrossFit version of the Foon Ball, or Ball Foon aggro, takes 3 crawlers. So I'll have the...
Definitely plays into the Scorpion pick. I really thought that air would make a lot of sense, because you know they're going to have a Sabertooth. That's a non-upshoot single target that they will want to place forward. giving your Phoenix a really good high-value connect.
Right.
Um,
I've certainly heard a new player ask the question, like, how are you even supposed to counter the Sabertooth on round 2? And Phoenix is one of the answers, right? Even if you're any standard specialist, right? 40, you have 400 to spend, 50 of that to unlock the Phoenix, 200 to buy a Phoenix. You have 100 left as a deploy. That's not what CrossFit took. The Typhoon might fit his long-term build better, but it does concede about 1,300 of those hit points. So CrossFit at 39.33, Kanota at 39.88.
Sabertooth is also perfectly positioned to just delete that Arclight off the rip, which meant that the crawlers were much less well answered, especially since it could also anchor the newly placed Typhoon, blocking the aggro so that less chaff was able to be cleared.
And then the crawlers arrived before the steel balls got to lock on it. That was just perfect placements from Kanota there. Kanota takes the Wasp Swarm, puts it in the back corner, where CrossFit only has crawlers at the moment. Of course,
Muzzle Chase, I'm not a huge fan of that positioning. I think I would have preferred middle between the towers.
Or far side, right? There's no crawler back here. Just go straight in after this tower. And he's going to go for the far side. He went for the far side last round with the level 1 crawler. But yeah, these lock onto this crawler and chase it into the main area.
He places his own Mustang on the off chance that he gets a Wasp at the back and he missiles the left.
Right.
Kind of leaving his center open. Kind of would have wanted to put a crawler mid-center in a perfect world to be able to run forward and pull them into your Mustangs.
Right. So you have the crawler here, it pulls the Wasp pack forward, which is what's going to happen to this pack, right?
Right.
CrossFit relying on a missile to defend the back right, his Wasps to defend the middle, and this crawler with the pull to defend the left side.
Yes, in this particular position, it avoids the missile, and they don't end up shooting each other as Wasps, although they do fly straight into a Typhoon, so
yeah,
I'm not sure that made much difference either way.
And with really good chaff timing arrivals, CrossFit has steel balls answering. Wait for it. Wait for it. There we go. Steel balls successfully answering not one but 2 scorpions.
Yes, one of those steel balls is very deep and arrives after he starts to win the chaff war. And here comes CrossFit's unit, which comes in on round 4, whereas Kanota's got his on round 2. So now both specialists are online for the players.
Right, they've gotten their equal value in theory. The 200 cost Sabertooth, the 300 cost level 2 Rhino, 200 cost unit showing up on round 2. Most of the 300 cost units show up on round 3. Rhino shows up on round 4.
Rhino has almost 40,000 HP and is such a bully of a unit. A lot of people don't enjoy it because it's not flashy, but it has always been one of the best specialists in every patch of all of Mechabellum, which surprises a lot of people.
Yeah, it got bumped from round 3 to round 4 a long time ago because it was way overpowered on round 3. So
I can believe that.
Kanota, nice read. Kind of blind reads that the spot for CrossFit to attack is this empty gap, right? Imagine that gap without the Scorpion. So he's seeing the Rhino just showing up there with a mobile beacon to tower and puts a Scorpion right in the way. CrossFit debating that positioning. Goes for Whirlwind, so he's going to take care of this crawler, run through. It's not on a mobile beacon, so it would, in CrossFit's mind, it's going to attack this crawler, go through and attack this Mustang, take out this crawler, and then get to tower. Instead, it's going to get deleted by Scorpion, but that Scorpion's going to take 4 shots to about 13.5 seconds. We'll see if it's able to get through.
The Whirlwind is still going to put in work. Also, he took Elite Rhino, I don't know if you noticed, so he can purchase level 3 Rhinos.
Right. And
that level 2 actually killed the...
Yeah. Yeah, it kills the Scorpion because it gets all the way in. Kanota has fixed the steel ball problem on the left. Almost. There is one surviving level 2 steel ball punches all the way through and gets one of the two scorpions. Doesn't get both scorpions this time. And Kanoda will win the round. Drops CrossFit to 29-36. Of course, CrossFit is a former champion. Amp Core will be great for either player. Speed also would be really good for the attackers. In this particular instance, I'm thinking CrossFit. Both players did... Wait, no. Kanoda takes the Rhino Assault, puts it on his unprotected back corner. CrossFit takes the Amp Core, sells his Rhino. So you had Whirlwind teched on it and have given up on it already. So that's a painful...
Well, he may be placing level 3 ones somewhere else.
Yeah, he does have the level 3s to come later. So remembering that he has that tech and the level 3 ability.
I hope he gets to make use out of it. He even could have taken the Rhino drop and his would have had tech.
Right.
So, taking that Amp Core, not using it on what I thought was going to be a level 3 Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
And then having essentially like a level 4.5 Rhino right out of nowhere could 100% you give it wreckage recycling and it could just bully through literally everything on this board and not die.
Instead, he's given it to the Wraith, so 2 Wraiths, one of them with the Amp Core, sitting above the steel balls to try and clear the chaff. That is what had slowed down the steel ball push last round. And you can see just how much they're accomplishing there. We've still got a whole bunch of crawlers on the ground, pushing ahead of them. Eventually the Mustangs delete one of the Wraiths, not the second one. But at this point,
that tower timing's gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's 4 Scorpions and doing a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Just absolutely shutting CrossFit's push down. Yep. Almost game.
Yeah, CrossFit is down to 1270. Did take range on the steel balls this round.
Forts are strong.
Yeah, two forts for Kanoda. And a worm for CrossFit. Right up front, unfortunately for him, forts are the answer to the worm, and the forts are basically placed right into this. It is a level 2 worm with armor enhancement, giving it a full 150,000 hit points. The forts, if they had launcher overload, they would delete this outright. They don't yet, but they may not need to, right? The Scorpions should do pretty solid against it as well. So all you really need to do is tank the 15,000 every 2.5 seconds.
And there's a pretty unbroken line of crawlers trickling in, so that worm's going to take forever before it gets to attack something meaningful. There is a mobile beacon, but I honestly think Kanoda just takes this.
You think this is round. GG right now?
I really do. I think the fort really answers that worm push, and I think nothing is going to keep that tower safe, and he's just going to win it under debuff like he did last round.
And is that taking into account the uncountered Phoenix flank on tower, or was that without it?
Even more so. That was even before,
yeah.
But with especially.
Now, this worm has bought a whole lot of time for the steel balls to get locks. They've done a lot of work, but now they're fighting under tower debuff. And it does look to me like perhaps CrossFit might have had the left side crunch and get through the tower without the Phoenix flank. With the Phoenix flank. Wheesh. And of course...
Right, because that armor on the worm negated all of the Mustang fire.
Right. It almost kept him alive. Wow. Kanoda with the W, getting through to a round 7, or perhaps being champion. Of course, as casters, a couple of weeks ago, we used to be able to throw things out like, oh yeah, well, I think CrossFit would have had this if it hadn't been for the uncountered Phoenix flank. And you couldn't argue it. But now, You can save a replay and replay that round, take over Kanoda's side of the board, for example, and, not drop that Phoenix flank and see if he still would have won or if CrossFit would have won. So you can kind of hold us accountable for that. And I definitely encourage you to do that with your matches. If you're losing, don't know why, or, wanted to see, well, what was my line to get out of this? Could I have gotten out of it on the last round? What would have happened if I at least shielded that one storm or something? Kanoda, very solid defense. Looks like there might be a round 7, but we don't know for sure yet. Let's jump into Dionys versus 38 degrees Celsius and find out.
Right.
All right, you're the analyst. Go. Analyze. My favorite challenge to Titan. And he does so good at it. Don't tell him I said
it's a good bubble off the oil. We definitely have an Exodia build for 38 Celsius versus what is essentially a Scorpion defense. On paper, I favor the Exodia build in theory, although Phoenix with enough levels and techs are absolutely a great answer, but with the Wasps and having only Fang upshoot, I think 38C is in a strong position, or is it just going to be an abundance of storms that can put it down?
It looks like the abundance of storms win this round.
Once we get to see both sides of the board, it'll be easier to kind of parse it out. But I'm guessing that the Phoenix is absolutely helped with that punch through.
38 degrees Celsius down to 800 hit points. That's the scoreboard we had seen coming in. So.
4 packs of Wasps. The only upshoot for those Wasps is Fangs, and unranged Fangs at that.
Oh, no.
So they should be doing a
anti-aircraft arc lights.
Aha! I'm so used to not even thinking of them as air units, but you're right.
It's
I was wondering where the clear was coming from.
I haven't seen that in a long time at this level, and Dionys is running it.
And not in the I'm going to carry everything capacity. It's actually there to be like an AA turret.
Right. If I'm going to rely on arc lights as clear, I'm not going to rely on them as carry arc lights. I'm going to have the ability to throw down AA if needed. And he does. It blows up those Wasps. I mean, I gotta say, I wonder if that is actually took 38 degrees Celsius by surprise, because you wouldn't
100%.
even think to click on the arc lights before committing into the Wasps. I had the Wasps. The Wasps were getting the job done last round.
You know what's interesting is when you get the arc lights as a starting unit when you're giant, you kind of sell out of them slowly and surely when you go into the Vulcan, but then you have to find your anti-air option. If you range them and give them air as their specialty, they will fire quickly, retarget.
I'm actually thinking honestly, I might like this.
Like, it's not the 4th tech in a hyper carry build that's too expensive where you want it to kill overlords. It's actually just a ranged AA because it's a cheap AA tech.
Right. Gives you a one-off to drop against a Wasp flank if needed.
And it makes short work. I mean, there's great splash. They clump up. It does enough damage to one-tap through probably... I wonder what the exact level is, but I bet you a level 2 arc light gets through level 3 Wasps in one shot.
Right. Level 2 does 777. A Wasp at level 1 is 311, so level 2 with one shot. Yeah, it's one shot level for level, with whatever tower upgrades they had, which was level 2 Arclight, level 1, or level 2 research center for the Arclight, level 1 research center for the...
I'm gonna look at this and see what round Dionys clicks that.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Because I'm really curious. I mean, I know we're goo-goo-gagging over a quote-unquote obvious tech that probably all the noobs play, but it's a matter of when you use it and how you associate with it.
Right, and a lot of the higher-level players are actually running range, elite marksman, and charged shot, and then the question is, what is the 4th tech? Do you take electromagnetic, or do you take anti-aircraft?
Or armor. Those are the 3
or
in
armor,
contention for that.
and I've actually been running armor, I think.
I am as well.
And Dionys is like, I'm going to run anti-air and electromagnetic shot and really not be able to build the full carry arclight build, but have these in a utility role that they don't normally do. And this is one of the things, if you're new to this game, I would recommend, rather than just, I'm going to listen to some 2000 level player tell me what the perfect techs are for each unit. I don't believe in that. Decide what role your unit is going to play in your
100%.
army and tech for those sets of roles, right? If you want to run full carry forts with full range and all of that, go right ahead. We love it. And somebody who's told you what the perfect techs are, assuming that your forts had anti-air, barrage, and barrier and fang production, the rest of the techs that they've picked for all the other units are wrong for you. Because now you need to be answering the things that those carry forts would be answering with barrier or with anti-air barrage, etc. So you need to adjust your whole unit composition, your unit modification choices to match it. And oh, by the way, if you are totally new to the game, you may not know this part. These units, some of them you've got to go unlock your own techs. So as you gain tech points, you're going to go click on different units to unlock things. So you can see I have 2 tech points available. I have armor enhancement on and anti-aircraft ammunition on the tarantulas that I haven't unlocked yet. I might or might not do that at some point. If I decide I want to run them, I will click it before and put them in. Great. But for right now, I think I am going to make that little adjustment we were just talking about.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny. Imagine using anti-air for anti-air.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a wasted tech because it doesn't increase the damage or the range the way that all the other anti-air specs do. It just changes it from not being able to shoot this to being able to shoot it. Yes.
Casual 9-meter splash base to make up for it.
Right.
I do wish there was a slight targeting priority, though.
Yeah, it does not get that. And to be clear,
right,
Titan says the word targeting priority. It is not how anti-air works for other units.
Not precisely.
No. We've got to be clear. We've got a whole bunch of new players. So what it does is increases the maximum range by 30 meters, which means if you have a crawler and a flying unit and they are both 20 meters outside of the normal maximum range, then you get to shoot the flying unit first. Now that you're locked onto the flying unit, you're never going to be locked onto shooting at the crawlers, at least until the flying unit dies.
It extends your maximum range of engagement, which means that if a eligible unit for that conditional range enters, you get a preemptive lock. But once there are valid targets of any kind within your maximum range, you target what's closest, as any other unit does.
Right.
The only unit that has true target priority is the heavy target from Steel Ball.
Right. And then you can use this very, very cleverly if you know where somebody has placed air units near the line, and then you're thinking like, okay, I'm gonna place a new marksman that has aerial specialization at this spot where the units on the line are not in range, but the air units are in range due to the extra 30 meters. Dachshund is very excited about
and that is where you can
this unit, the puppy. We think it's going to be a puppy. We're happy. And also, Slimerai, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it.
Dillo priorities. Gotta win my match so I can start earning my insight, because insight reset for the first time in game history along with combat power.
Right.
It's interesting on this graphic of the dog unit. If you look closely at the 4x2 grid, there's a bunch of different looking arts for the unit. And I wonder if that means it's going to have defining text, like Assault Mode Marksman, that make it do dynamically different things. Because there's like 4 different graphics or 5 different graphics for it in that picture.
Right.
So it could be they haven't settled on the exact look, and those were a bunch of alternative designs. There's a lot of ways that it could mean something or not mean something, and of course the whole objective is to get people hyped and speculative about it.
Yes.
Very interesting.
It's a really neat way to approach it. And also, as a new player to the game, of course they're letting us know that it's not just a locked and final deployment. Here's the build, we're done. You know, it's going to be a living game in the way that you would expect of a modern multiplayer online game. We're going to have new units, we're going to have new techs, we're going to have new things happening. Let's go.
Right, launching your 1.0 with the promise of more to come.
Right.
This is not just a, push the button and now it's finished.
Right.
Project, in the least.
All right,
I'm really excited to see this.
Yeah, I am too. For our round 7, Kanoda versus Dionis. I believe I just had the channel point prediction start for you. Kanoda's road to the final is max damage, Pashio, Doxin, Onlyfangs, Godius Prime, and CrossFit. That is a set of wins from round 3 onwards. Well done for Kanoda. Dionis beats Erdnot Shrex, Ian S., Valios, Goth the Great, Dolmont, 38 degrees Celsius, and the two of them face each other in our final right now. Yes, that is the way to defeat this one unit, Cyber. Teach one Fang to throw a stick. Fangs need attack. Throw stick. Puppy goes and fetches. Oh, goodness, I love it.
I don't know, maybe that's actually better for the person with the dog, because imagine if you had a chaff unit that ran towards the enemy and then away from them and then towards them and then away from them. That sounds like an awesome chaff unit.
Yes, but 45 seconds into the match, it lays down and rests. Tired.
Maybe it has a stun from, like, cuteness overload then.
Cuteness overload stun, I love it. Belly rubs, yes.
Emotional support Rhino, move out of the way. We have emotional support Doggo.
Exactly. Welcome to the final, folks. Weekend Tournament America's number 73. Kanoda versus Dionis. Dionis back at the top level. Kanoda has been a threat to win one. I can't remember them actually winning one right now. I have them listed in my head as, real threat to win a tournament. Kanoda's going to be near side blue, Rhino specialist with Crawler and Sledge.
Really good options for Dionis.
Dionis, yeah, that was amazing.
They time out?
No.
They did. They took the one that I didn't want. Oh my gosh.
I took Aerial Specialist with Ball and Fang.
They had the Fire Badger, they had the Farseer, and they had the Typhoon on offer with really good units, and they went with Aerial spec. That blows my mind.
Yeah, I wanted that Typhoon pack.
I know you did.
I use it already.
Another Sledge Crawler, versus Steel Ball.
Yep. Kanoda comes out with the Sledges horizontal rather than expecting a Steel Ball push. Just potentially because Dionis has the Fangs.
I like the horizontal when you don't know which side they're going to push. Because that way when they pivot from one side to the other, or as you start to create a middle pull, it's kind of a horizontal vertical as they swing wide, and you can place your other packs of sledges deliberately vertical into the side they push if they do push.
Right.
And if they don't push, then you'd prefer your horizontal sledges most of the time. So we have arc lights for the steel ball player, makes sense, into the crawlers. The marksman should do pretty well as long as the sledges can clear out the fangs, because the crawlers are gonna get picked off before they make first contact, at least on the edges. This is gonna be a fairly even opening match, I think. The marksman is putting in a ton of work. If those fang screens survive, then the arc lights will have the last laugh. Like one side goes one way, the other side goes the other. Good tower timing for the marksman player.
Hero marksman.
And a level. Really valuable. So the reason they didn't pick that specialist is they knew they would have their choice of Typhoon, Fire Badger, and Farseer on round 1. They just had the inside scoop.
Fair enough.
That's
I mean,
unbelievable.
that is a
I would have been
set
so salty.
of drops. Wow.
Wow. And they don't have to pick red because they can get the free unlock anyway. That's hilarious. That's... I can't even... That's like a 1 in 1,000 probability of having those 3 specialists on offer for one player, and then those 3 units showing up in the first drop. That's crazy.
Dionys takes the Farseer, which I love paired with steel balls. Of course, I tend to pair them in aggro, but the reason they pair well together is that they both go 16 meters per second, and they,
right.
You know, the steel balls work against a ground single target. The Farseer is useful against the wasps, the potential of a wraith, and potentially a chaff on the ground. So they kind of fulfill different roles. They go at the same speed. They'll work together. Also, why Mustangs have traditionally gone with steel balls or crawlers, same idea.
Fire Badgers are a little bit forward, in my opinion, because they're quick.
Right.
I'd like to see them maybe pull back a hair more, let the enemy advance a little bit more. But the steel balls do go down before the Fire Badgers are finished, which is absolutely what you want to see.
Right. Now, they are 10 meters per second. That is on purpose so that they can be paired speed-wise with a Mech Rage Sledgehammer without having to take Mech Rage themselves. Kanoda...
Right, not having access to the tech for the speed bump.
Yeah. Kanoda takes round 2, drops Dionys to 4,502. Kanoda's still at 4,300 hit points. Intensive training taken for Kanoda. There's also orbital bombardment. And as deep as Dionys is playing, I wonder if extended range fort is tempting. No.
In general, I don't think it's a great pick. I think it's not a bad pick. His board isn't very fortable, or I might have considered it. Oh, for Dionys, you said.
For Dionys, yes. Into this board? I would have, I think...
Maybe, and you don't usually want marksmen and melters both, because they're both good single target, so I could see it. It'd be interesting.
Might be a little bit...
Orbital is really strong, though.
Yeah, might be a little bit risky to pass up Orbital and take that in a final of a weekend tournament.
Right.
You want to play something you are 100% confident in, and if you don't play that extended range fort build often enough, or don't have the right techs for it, right, which is possible.
Right.
I haven't looked at Dionys' tech layout.
Because you have to have the range.
Right.
At a minimum, you obviously want barrier. Most people run barrier.
Right, but if he was in 4 utility techs, then it's really not the right choice. Orbital bombardment decently shielded, still has done so much work. You can see how heavily Dionys is winning that left side. That shield is going to come down. There's a single marksman left in it. level 3 marksman goes down, and I think that gave the Farseer a level, almost half a level. It's the kill value.
There's also another blue marksman, potentially.
Kill value went to the Stormcallers, not the Farseer. If you don't know how experience works, that's a useful thing to know.
Now it has its level.
Now it gets its level. Experience is the sale price of the unit at level 1. So one marksman is worth 100 experience points. Times 2. It's given once to the unit that did the final hit point of damage, regardless of how much damage was done, and once divided amongst everybody who contributed damage to it, regardless of how much damage they contributed. So if you kill a marksman all by yourself, it's 200 experience points for you. If it's you did the final blow and everybody on the entire team had contributed, it's going to be 101 experience points for you and 1 experience point for everybody else, assuming you had.
Transportation is experience proportional or just true false?
Just true false, I believe. Not proportional.
Okay,
to damage
that's what I
dealt.
thought.
Yeah.
Right. So both players took heavy armor here. It's interesting because with the 3 marksmen, ER marksman was a very potentially tempting option if you think you're going to be in a range war.
And it looks like a range war at this point.
Right, so I think that was really tempting to take, particularly for Kanoda.
Also
and they put their heavy armor.
Dionys has sold out of the steel balls, which are where I thought the heavy armor might be going. They're
holding it for now. I could see it going on the Farseer, but honestly, there's probably a Vulcan in the works. Or some other giant that, heavy armor is good on just about everything. Yeah, a steel ball would have been a logical choice for it.
Right. Cyber asks if towers are worth more experience when you upgrade them. I don't think they are. Last I checked, they were not, and I've always kind of thought that might even be a bug. I'm not sure if that is as designed.
I would have assumed they were. That's something that I would want to probably test to be sure of.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to change your plan to suddenly kill the tower because it's leveled.
Right.
But it's definitely an interesting thought.
But it was one of the things in the original set of balance where killing a tower awarded too much experience. So steel balls would get in and get a tower, and then they'd get a level, and then they'd be out of control. And they had to really dramatically reduce the amount of experience that killing a tower gave.
Gosh, that Rhino.
That Rhino has had
using
a day.
Every ounce of hit points.
Look at that hit point bar. Tiny. And Kanoda drops Dionys to 3310. Kanoda's at 3734. We go to round 5, have a unit drop possibility, and we get that unit drop immediately. Scorpion, 2 level 1 Scorpions taken for Dionys. That board is very scorpable, especially with the high level Rhino. It would have just taken 1 hit from this Scorpion to have tipped the balance there. Kanoda takes the Vulcan. It's a level 2 Vulcan. It's going to go on the left side. Dionys adds fire on the Stormcallers, so trying to light the oil on fire. That is the natural next step, you would think.
So, intensives the Rhino to make it level 3, now functionally level 6 in terms of health or close to it.
Oof.
Heavy armor is now an 80%, not 100% increase.
Right, 113,000 hit points over there. Back, or tanking for the 86,000 hit point Vulcan. I don't think your level 1 Scorpions are actually going to do it over there. Yeah, might need something more concentrated damage-wise.
If you can kill the chaff and the storms get unimpeded volleys, then I could see it working.
Right. And you do have a pretty good chance of killing the chaff with the fire.
Right. So it'll all and there is a anti-missile device singular behind that by that tower to try and mitigate the incoming missiles. And that pole draws everything into a clump for the Scorpions, but also for the Vulcan, so that kind of cuts both ways.
Yeah. Also for the fire. I mean...
Right.
We have one huge killing field there. Abandon hope, all ye who enter this spot. Except for that level 3 Rhino. He did not abandon hope.
Right.
he gets the tower with, again, that tiny little hit point bar. He's going to go get the other tower. Kanoda just barely eking these wins out, but they turn into a lot of hit point damage, dropping Dionys down to 2250.
The cooldown. Interesting.
So we're going to get oil and orbital back one round earlier than we would have. So we'll get those back on round 7.
Note that there was intensive that could have been an every turn pickup.
Right. Yeah, Kanoda could have taken the quick cooldown to turn intensive into an every round spell, essentially.
Not necessarily saying that's what he should have done, although if you then later get an enhancement module, then you are off to the races.
Yeah, that is one of those that gets silly in a hurry, especially if both players have taken it. That's how you wind up with level 9 hyper carry units.
Yep. The most I've ever had was 2 1-round cooldown intensives with an enhancement module. I got 2 levels per round. It was absolutely insane.
I saw Time for Miracle get 3 against
Oh my gosh.
me. And
so personal experience.
Personal experience, yes, as elite specialist, so he would recruit and have a level 5 unit. And then,
is that? Ooh, the oil there was brutal.
So
on the right.
His final board included a level 9 fortress and a level 5 fortress.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have elite on those forts?
He was running full as best as he could. I don't think it was full carry because he wasn't like necessarily aware that this drop was going to happen.
Right.
But yeah, it was an amazing game.
I am of the opinion the strongest unit in the entire game is a level 9 fortress with elite marksman.
I think I agree with you.
Because the range and the amount of damage that you're doing at that point is just hilarious.
It is amazing.
But we have range acid scorpions, and they are very powerful, but Dionys is just losing on tempo to the marksman. Although the fire absolutely rocked the right-hand side.
Right, and this is the round that Dionys has the quick cooldown oil, the orbital bombardment comes back, and he took the orbital javelin. He's not going to be able to do 3,700 hit points of damage even with these 3 spells, and I think the board is just too strong for Kanoda right now. So I expect Dionys wins round 7, and Kanoda wins the game on round 8. We'll see. Things can change.
Picked a good side for the orbital. The wasps are split up. At first they were all clumped together. I'm really surprised about the quad shield, because there wasn't really a threatening spell. And that's a huge amount of money that Dionys is putting into temporary defenses. It's not like it would have protected against the javelin.
Now he's into triple teched scorpions, range, acid, and double shot. Of course, double shot acid, a very cool combination because the first acid shot does normal value, the first shot does normal value, lands the acid, the second shot does the 250% damage. So you're doing 3.5x the damage instead of 2 times the damage with your double shot.
That orbital was brutal.
Mm-hmm. Wins the right side
it had
easily.
Some ridiculous targeting.
Yep. And even with all 3 spells and the landing on that javelin,
there's no upshoot
there's
for
no
the
upshoot
wasps.
left. He doesn't even win the
Although
round.
that does mean you get the missile device, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Just kidding.
no. You don't even get the missile. Hey.
You do keep 3 shields of your own, so if there's a big impact spell, you really hope there is if you're Dionys this round, because you already have shield value. the unit drop.
617 hit points left. That was supposed to be his big damage dealing round. We get the Typhoon drop. We've ranged the wasps. And levels up all of the scorpions.
That's great and all. Gets wasps of his own, and of course has late typhoons for the wasps. But hard read the air answer to the wasps.
Both of them have range and anti-air. Yeah, Kanoda just, I think, was looking at what could possibly kill me.
Right.
But there's the Typhoon drop, right? So
exactly. So in my mind, if I'm in Kanoda's shoes, I expect a commitment to Typhoon, and I would never in a million years click anti-air on my wasp blind this round.
Right. That just seems.
I don't even know if it's correct necessarily, but I mean it's going to work. It's definitely good to do in this particular instance, 100%. Right. And I think that's going to carry the game.
Do you think maybe the anti-air is actually against something like Wraith or Overlord, rather than against the Wasps?
Not when you have 4 leveled marksmen. I think that would be a poor choice. And even if you were to do that, you want your Wasps kind of being safe and being kind of the air chaff.
Right.
So I think it was just a cold read into Wasp answers Wasp.
Right. Of course, the Typhoons do get the job done in terms of the anti-air. Don't get the job done on the rest of the board. Dionys
That's just enough.
Is knocked out. Kanoda is your Weekend Tournament America's number 73 champion. Congratulations, Kanoda. Well done. Dionys, oh so close.
That was close.
Yeah, Dionys has been a long-time member of the community. I know there were probably a lot of people pulling for Dionys as probably the underdog here. We kind of all recognize that, but man, so close.
Bunch of good games, a bunch of really close games. Dionys was like brought to the brink multiple times and made a pivot, made a turn, but couldn't quite get it over the finish line here, but made a absolutely fantastic run up the bracket.
Right. Well done. Okay. BKRAC wants to see the bracket, so we don't have a bracket format for this one. For this tournament field, there's no good way to show the bracket, so I presume what you are asking for is tomorrow's Mechabellum Launch Clash qualifier bracket, available there. That is the qualifying round. We had 160 entrants, of whom 140 qualified at the 1600 cutoff that we had asked for, and the top 64 by MMR were taken. That set the cutoff for that tournament at about 1950 MMR. That is before the season reset. So almost all of those players are above 2000 MMR. And from those 64, 16 will qualify, 4 groups of 16, and out of each group, 4 players will qualify in a double elimination format. That is starting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. I think it is 1800 Central European Standard Time. But if you're European, I expect you're not listening to us at 5:30 in the morning. I mean, maybe you're up early. Perhaps. Whew. Goodness, I'll be right back.
I'm still looking at the game board, and I was just zooming in and out for a minute. Did you know that if you zoom in on the forest eye, all the way in, and then pan the camera ground level, there's actually an underground bunker that you can see graphically underneath the surface
oh my God.
of the map.
Details, let's go.
I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember seeing a little Coliseum looking thing. It's got like a bunker with like a ring around it, and it's like a visual graphics asset that's underground with stairs and everything.
Oh, that is amazing. Dachshund, yes, you qualified by winning 2 weekend tournaments. You qualified via a route that was open to up to 8 players of the 32 in the finals. So you qualified straight to the finals. You are not part of the qualifying tournament. You cannot find your name on the linked Mechabellum Launch Clash qualifiers. You're welcome to hang with me tomorrow and enjoy the drama and misery and excitement of folks trying to get in. Perhaps scout out some of the opposition that you might be seeing in the final.
This is probably going to be the most competitive event in Mechabellum history.
It absolutely is.
We have 60 players that are essentially 2K plus players.
Yep.
That's insane. The lowest seed is 1950.
Yep.
And that's just amazing to imagine. And that's the qualifier event before the actual tournament, where another
16 top players await. And just in case you are wondering what the quality we're talking about is, Goff the Great, who just placed 3rd in this weekend tournament, is the 64th seed in that 64-person qualifying tournament. Dachshund, who is 4th in this tournament, is one of those who auto-qualified and skipped the qualifiers. So that's how close this bracket is going to be. Really look forward to you guys joining us for that tomorrow. And of course for the finals on October 6th. Congratulations to Kanoda, our Weekend Tournament America's number 73 champion. Dionis, a runner-up, oh so close. And Goff the Great, 3rd. Congratulations to you 3. Dachshund and, oh dear, which is this, Stupid Vegetables, I believe? Stupid Vegetables came all the way through.
Ironically, not making fun of someone. That's
No,
the actual translation of the name.
Yes, that is the actual translation of the name, is Stupid Vegetables. 38 degrees Celsius, Godius Prime, Dillo, What's a Woman, and Pikokishi round out the top 10. For those of you getting your name up in lights, we'll scroll on down through the rest of the folks. Hello, Sacco. He has an alt account called Smart Meat. Stupid Vegetables, Smart Meat. Love it.
A man after my own diet.
Oh, I wonder if it's Stupid Vegetarians. That would be a name.
Interesting.
So there are your top 30. Congrats again to our champion Kanoda. Well deserved. Thank you all for watching, and I'm going to say goodnight because I've got to be back in this seat.
Yes, I was just going to say, you need to get some sleep because it's going to be a day and a half.
It's going to be a long one. You can hear my voice is already going after today. Thank you all so much for joining me as usual. Thank you very much to the mods and to you, Alpha Titan, for joining me in the booth. Appreciate you being here.
Always a pleasure.
And let's see if we can raid on out to somebody. While I'm trying to find that person to raid to, I'll put up our thank you screen. Well, let's see if we can, I don't know if Stony is going to be on much longer, but we'll try Stony tonight, I think, since we cast him in the first round. Please give Stony some love. Yep. Alright, good night everybody. Thanks for watching.